alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef.
And my name is Vania.
And grow and spread Halloween, my minions.
Hi guys. So happy post-Halloween. Yes, we are in post-Halloween season. In other words, it is going to be close to 150 something days. I can't guarantee you any days until Halloween. So we are past that Halloween mark. In other words, hunt season is done. And yeah, it is time to get those post-depression haunt, I guess, feelings out and talk about one of our favorite things in our entire world on this podcast.
Yeah, so with the ending of haunt season and the ending of HHN, I know we're a little late. We're like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks late at this point, because we're the worst. We just had a couple scheduling issues and that kind of stuff. But anyway, with that being said, this is our review of Halloween Horror Nights 31 in Orlando. We decided this year we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're not going to do house or scare zone rankings.
Like we have had in the past.
Yes, we're going to do it a little different. So we're going to literally take you on a walk through the park. We're going to stop at each scare zone, give you our thoughts on each scare zone, and rank it out of 10. We're going to give it however many out of 10 tombstones. And then we will do the same thing with the houses. So this one might be a little bit of a longer episode. Who gives a shit? It's worth it.
Yeah.
You guys love HHN. We love HHN. Why couldn't we talk about it?
Yeah. I think we should also do an overview of the event.
Oh yeah, of course. And then obviously
so...
give our final thoughts on the event itself, you know?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
So, actually, before we do that, let's do this. This should be interesting. So before we get into scare zones and houses, I do want to say this. When everything got announced, before the actual event started, what was the thing you were most excited for? House and scare zone wise.
For me, from the get-go, it was a Fiesta de Chupacabras. Because after they announced, then they also dropped the podcast before, even on opening night. I think they dropped it on opening night. I don't remember. But even then, I was excited about the whole representation of Chupacabras. And also the fact that it represented the Puerto Rican culture and just something Hispanic of the sort had me super excited. For I guess scare zones, it was between Sweet Revenge and Scarecrow because I did love the Scarecrow house. Yeah, because it was one of my favorites, but also very terrifying and traumatizing. And Sweet Revenge because it has a really cute backstory and not a cute backstory. That sounds really wrong, but it's very cutesy for the era that it was based in, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. For me, I would say I'm gonna break it up. So scare zone wise, I was definitely excited for Scarecrow because that was one of my favorite houses of 2017. I thought it was a beautiful house. I thought it was a really scary house. So I was like, okay, good. I'm glad they're bringing it back. Even if it's not going to be in a house, it's going to be a scare zone. And it's going to be in Central Park, which is a good track record, scare zone-wise.
Yeah.
So that's going to be... Definitely am excited for that. Next big excitement for me, scare zone-wise, was Conjure the Dark. I'm a huge fan of, traditional or, the folk origins of Halloween. I've always thought, as Samhain, I've always thought that was really interesting. So when the description said, come back to the first ever Halloween, I was like, okay, this is going to be cool. I'm expecting, rituals and witchy stuff. So I'm like, that's going to be fun. So that was one of the things I was excited for. And then house-wise, I was very, very excited for Chupacabras as well. Again, for the same reasons. Representation. Over here celebrating. Dale, vamos, vamos, dale, vamos.
Yeah.
And also Bugs Eaten Alive, I was excited for. I was scared, but also excited. One, because of roaches. I don't like roaches. I was fine with other bugs now. And also just because, I was like, okay, good. I'm interested to see how they're going to take something that is such a universal fear.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to say 90% of the world population is afraid of bugs in some way, shape, or form.
That's on period.
So those two houses for me were the ones that I was most excited to see. Um, so yeah, this is gonna be interesting because now that we've discussed that and we discussed the scare zones and the haunted houses, then I think we should talk about what were the things that were most surprising to us after the event. So like the ones that we may not have been as excited for, but ended up being really, really good, or like kind of took us by surprise, or stuff that we were excited and then we were kind of disappointed by. So we'll do that. So off the bat, you were excited for Scarecrow and Sweet Revenge, and outside of Chupacabras, were you excited for any other houses?
This was during the event or before the event?
Before. Like when after everything got announced, but before anything opened. So like you already knew what everything was going to be, but you didn't exactly go through it yet.
No, not really. I was kind of having mixed feelings about everything else. I wasn't doubting the weekend, but I just thought it was just gonna be a more of a, I guess, an okay house. But it was one of the houses that I guess you can say that it caught me by surprise, but not by a lot on the spectrum.
And like by any means, I'm not saying I wasn't excited for any of these other houses or scare zones. I'm just saying these are the ones that I was most excited for. These are the ones that like immediately like caught my attention. I was like, okay, these are the ones that like these are going to be my go-to things to see.
Yeah, for me it was definitely just Chupacabra because I wasn't like not excited for everything else. I just kind of had my doubts about everything else. It's just like everything's kind of either going to be a repeat or the originals. I always try not to hype them up as much as because they could either be really good or really bad. I always think that the originals always end up being really good regardless. But like also the IPs were also kind of killing it this year, but I'll go into that later.
And now, what were the things that you were kind of like, I could skip this? Now, obviously, we weren't going to skip anything, but like the ones that you were like least excited for.
Bugs.
Really? Oh yeah, because I know you have a thing with was it trichophobia?
Yeah, trypophobia.
Trypophobia.
So if you guys don't know in the podcast already, I don't know if I discussed it enough. I have very terrible trypophobia. I guess a little bit of backstory on that. I dreamt when I was a kid in Puerto Rico that I had holes in my skin. So then it was a memory that I buried very deep in my self-conscious, very, very deep, that I kind of forgot about it for a while. But we can thank American Horror Story Cult for reviving that fear that I once forgot that I had. So, not that I didn't actually, growing up, I guess I didn't see a lot of things that had holes, like, until I started noticing them after Cult. So I was like, damn, I forgot that this was very deep in my self-conscious. So when I heard that there was going to be a shit ton of trypophobia at this house, I was just like, nope, I could skip this. And also, like, bugs don't terrify me because I think the idea of huge bugs are just funny. Because, it's supposed to, like, fit into that quirk of, like,
50s B movie too.
50s B movie, like, huge bugs. And, like, it's just silly to me. But, like, when I heard that there was some type of, like, holes everywhere, I was like, yeah, I must skip. And also, another thing that I was not, I guess, ecstatic for, it's going to change my mind later. It was Horrors of Blumhouse because at the time, I had not seen Black Phone. I had not seen Black Phone. I don't know if you guys remember that episode that I have stated. I did not see Black Phone, but after seeing it and everything else, things changed. It's definitely like a red flag turns into a green flag kind of thing.
Yeah. So
yeah, it was definitely something that I was not looking forward to, and I was like, I could skip this because every Blumhouse house in the past has been very honestly very shitty. Is that like some few scenes in there here and there, but Sinister. Yeah, it was.
Sinister is probably one of the scariest things in any of the Blumhouses that they have ever done. I think.
Yeah.
It was just too short, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But those are the two houses that I was just like, I could skip this, and I was also having my doubts about Halloween, too. I was just like, oh, it's going to be like every other year. So.
I'll agree with you on that. When they first announced Halloween, I was like, okay, cool, it's going to be Halloween. I was not expecting them to do the original Halloween again. I was like, I kind of wanted them to do the new stuff.
Yeah.
like 2018 and kills, and maybe there's like a snippet of ends, like just a little bit. And we didn't get that, and I was kind of disappointed by that, but we'll get to that. We'll get to my thoughts on Halloween in a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing I wasn't super excited for, to be completely honest with you, was it's kind of between Hellblock Horror and Descendants of Destruction. I wasn't super excited for either one of those.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I was like, okay, Descendants of Destruction, we've already seen, like, the basic idea of this a number of times before, of, like, underground stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We've already seen it a few times. And then Hellblock Horror, I was like, this just sounds like your typical prison. Doesn't seem exciting.
Right.
And there are some of these where I was proven wrong. They caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, I think it's time we just dive right in.
Right.
So we're gonna start off with scare zones. And remember, this is not a ranking anymore. This is us literally walking through the park, stopping at a scare zone, discussing that scare zone, and then moving on to the next one.
Okay.
So, imagine it's October 31st. You're walking through that archway. You scan your ticket. You scan your fingerprint. You're inside the park. First thing you see when you walk in is the giant red archway that says Halloween Horror Nights. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.
Oh.
I am so sorry. Stupid Discord fucked me up again. Okay, I'm back. Alright, so I'll just redo that section because I was kind of feeling it.
I know you were.
I was like, it's story time. Okay. Alright, so let's take you back to Halloween night, October 31st. You just walk through that archway that says Halloween Horror Nights, you scan your ticket, you scan your fingerprint, you're inside the park. First thing you see is that giant red archway that says Halloween Horror Nights, just like it said for Halloween Horror Nights 30. And you have...
31.
No, just like I'm saying for 30 last year.
Oh, yeah. I forgot it's the same sign. Oh.
Wow.
I mean, I thought you were trying to describe that current time.
No. I'm just like putting you in the mindset.
I was like, yeah.
I'm just trying to put you in the mindset.
Yeah. We in the mindset.
But just underneath that sign, you see a familiar creature. This time he has left Wicked Growth. He is out here in the open. We are seeing the Pumpkin Lord right before our eyes immediately. And that's how we enter Horrors of Halloween, the first scare zone. And I'm like, that's a hell of a way to get in there. And immediately you're like, there's our Pumpkin Lord, our Pumpkin Lord and Savior. And of
course, you see a whole bunch of pumpkins on the roof, and then we also see more familiar faces, like the infamous but famous little Boo. That's right in the, like, smack that in the middle of the entire pumpkin patch. Literally a pumpkin patch. That is up in the air, I guess you can say.
It's a floating pumpkin patch.
A floating pumpkin patch.
So here's we're off the bat. We have a huge change though. Pumpkin Lord can talk now.
Yeah.
Before last year, all he did was roar. This year he talks it up and he burps at people
and farts.
Pumpkin Lord is literally if Grinch was a Halloween creature instead of a Christmas creature.
So Grinch and Vecna had a baby. Got it.
Oh God, it's Grinchna.
Grinchma.
They're couples right now.
Grinch.
I mean, if you looked at those, I mean, for those of you that've seen Stranger Things 4, those full body shots of Vecna do look like the Grinch had been skinned alive or something.
Exactly.
So I mean, they could be similar. They got it on at some point, and that gave us Pumpkin Lord. But yeah, Pumpkin Lord talks. He's perfect spot for like a good like photo op. He does say a lot of like Halloween related quotes and that kind of stuff, which is really cool.
And cheesy.
And really cheesy. I do like the little redesign that they gave him, where he now has like an actual like mouth with like bigger teeth. And, like, the mouth actually, like, moves up and down when he talks. I like that it's articulated. It isn't just, like, a flat mouth. Like, Mickey Mouse style, where his mouth doesn't move.
Oh
and it
no.
freaks me the fuck out.
Yeah,
Especially like because I just saw Fantasmic last week, and I was really hoping when they brought it back that I was like maybe they'll do like the moving faces for Mickey because they've done it. They do it for like the Castle show. So I was
and
like,
for the Mickey's meet and greet.
exactly. So I'm like, oh, maybe maybe we'll have fully articulated Mickey, and we did not have that. And I'm like, this is freaking me out because why is Mickey talking and his mouth is not moving? Please
Yeah.
stop this, Disney. You've done this before. You can do this again.
All right.
But anyway, that's besides the point. But yeah, he talks. Definitely, it's definitely like an overgrown pumpkin patch because it is him taking over the park. And we do see. Is it supposed to be what they had last year, where it's like scare actors from all the different scare zones?
Yeah, they had the witch from kind of Scary Tales kind of.
Looks like it, yeah.
Looks kind of like Scary Tales, but also from Wicked Growth in some weird shape. It's like they both were meshed together in
Mm-hmm.
some shape or form. And then there was like more of a like the pumpkin thing from it's from each scare zone, honestly. There's like the pumpkin from Scarecrow, the walking pumpkin from Scarecrow. Then there are the little ballerina cat girl with the tutu from
From
Sweet
Sweet's Revenge,
Revenge.
yeah.
And then there's the
I didn't
Deadly
see
Unrest
anything. What wasn't there from
Victorian
Deadly
girl.
Unrest? Oh yeah, that's right, the Victorian ghost.
The
Yeah,
Victorian ghost, and then there was like also another Viking looking mythological creature from Conjure
Conjure
the
the
Dark.
Dark. Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
essentially like a greatest hits zone of this year, which is weird.
yeah,
It's kind of weird to describe it because it's literally like here's one of each from each scare zone.
right.
um, and as fun as this scare zone was, it was a little bit of a mess as well
Right.
because it's right at the entry to the park. It's always very very crowded. It's kind of a mess to walk through because everybody's
Mhm.
stopping to take pictures. Everybody's just like scrunging all over each other. It's just bad. And again, that's not the scare zone's fault. That's just the space's fault because it's a
Right.
narrow space.
Well, it's used to being like a mashup of everything or just the summary of the event. But I think like with you see like a pumpkin, another giant pumpkin, then you see like a candy like thing close to the minions
Hmm.
side, like candy like representing Sweet Revenge. So those two blocks took up a lot of the walking
They
space.
really did. That was a big
Yeah,
issue for me. I feel like they should have made him a little. They should have done what they did. I think it was in 2018, where they had like almost like little like sections, and each one
yeah,
represented a house. Like you
right.
remember how they had like the one section that was supposed to be Poltergeist, and it had like it was almost like a scarecrow stock, but it had like a broken TV on it,
Yeah.
like something like that. I feel like they should have done something similar instead of like these two giant chunks of pumpkin,
Yeah.
because it
And
just
then
kind of
I just had
like
yeah.
constricted movement and they bottlenecked everything.
Yeah, so it was kind of a mess, and it's also very dark in there. So the lighting, like, I'm not saying that the pumpkin patch lighting did any justice, but it was kind of bad.
Yeah,
So
and
like,
then theming wise, I feel like they kind of lost the theme halfway because they like sure you got the pumpkin that looks like it's covered in candy. There's Sweet's Revenge, and then the other one that's just like a regular pumpkin. Like, what is in there outside of the actors that represents the rest of the event other than just pumpkins?
yeah, and
Which I
just
feel like,
traditional and trick or treater.
yeah, which I feel like this if this is gonna be your first zone, you got to, and you're gonna be kind of introducing everything that's gonna be in the event. You can't just throw actors in there and expect people to know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I feel like they should have put in like smaller sections, each one representing a scare zone at least.
Right.
So I feel like that would have been a little bit more coherent, a little bit more uniform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But besides that, I mean, with all that going on, I just felt like it was just really dark, and you couldn't see even a lot of the actors. It just got lost in translation. I mean, I thought it was cute for the most part, but like Yusuf said, unless something, I guess the difference between back then and now is just like they used IPs to represent what was in the year rather than a scare zone. But since
Hmm.
this was very original heavy, it was just kind of like, oh, here's just a random scare actor, And you're not gonna know until you walk through the park. But like, here's some stuff.
Yeah.
And here's just another what was it? Scare actor with a stilt. Smack that in the middle again.
Hmm.
Too like, I don't know.
Yeah, like it's and like I said, I don't blame. I think like my biggest issue was just like the two giant props that just took up a lot of space and they just bottlenecked everything. So it was just like really hard to get through it sometimes, especially
Yeah.
on peak nights. Like Jesus.
Y'all, let me tell y'all a story. I think it's what was it? I don't remember. I think it was like maybe the week before Halloween. The week before Halloween. I went for a little bit, just for the shits and giggles, after 9:30. Obviously, this doesn't have to do a lot. I'm just saying, walking through the park, through that archway, because I'm not trying to stray away from our little thing, whatever. So I was walking through the archway and told me how there was no scare actors. None.
Really?
No scare actors at all.
Wow.
And that because there were so many people. When there's too many people, it's kind of hard
Yeah, I
to
guess
have
scare
scare
actors are
actors
just.
walking around, because that's also for the safety of the scare actors,
Mhm.
that they just won't be able to move the way that they're supposed to move. And it was the same way for other scare zones as well. So even if on peak nights, it was just ridiculous to walk around those scare zones in general, because
Yeah.
it's too crowded. The scare actors can't do their job. So
Mhm.
it was
Yeah, I
just,
will say this year, like the peak nights were like heavy peak nights. Like they were real. At least they felt busier.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that the peak nights are the issue. It's just like the attendance is the issue. The crowd control for HHN this year was a big issue, because I feel
Mhm.
like they just don't realize their capacity between, what is it? I guess the frequent fears, unfortunately, versus the people who are buying these tickets nightly. Like, if there are even nights that they say that they're sold out and those didn't feel like peak nights, but then there are nights that they say they're not sold out, but it feels sold out,
Mhm.
like there's an issue with the system in general.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah. Like
it's
there were times where like this doesn't happen often. It barely ever happened at Horror Nights like in years prior. But there were moments in here where like my anxiety was skyrocketing just with like having to walk through these giant crowds of people sometimes.
hmm sometimes it doesn't make it enjoyable
Mhm.
to even go to horror nights, because then you just call it a day, like mid event,
Yeah.
like it's kind of bad.
And there is another thing we got to discuss, but I want to leave that towards the end when we like give our final thoughts because I know I'm sure you already know what it is I'm going to bring up.
Yeah,
But we'll get to that later.
right.
Um, but yeah, when it comes to the scare zone, like I said, those giant props really got in the way. Like you said, the lighting was a little bit of an issue sometimes. I feel like they adjusted it a little bit later on, but it wasn't enough because
Right.
I feel like it got a little lighter, but just not light enough to actually be able to
hmm
see properly. Um, so yeah, for me, like outside of the scare actors that were there and the Pumpkin Lord, it was tough to walk through sometimes.
Yeah.
So like for me, I would give this one probably a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. For me, it's a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
The 5 is because it's all the Pumpkin Lord. He's working it the entire
Pumpkin
time.
Lord was like the best part. Like that was my favorite part about
Mhm.
walking through that zone. Like I would just stand there and just like listen to him talk every once in a while because it was just fun.
Yeah.
Listen. I'm here for the church meeting, sir.
Yeah.
Mr.
I was like,
Preacher
I'm
Man, tell me
here
what.
to pay my salutations
Mr.
to
Preacher
you.
Man, read me from the good book.
Right.
But moving on to our next scare zone. So now we have walked past horrors of Halloween. We've made it past the terrifying, ginormous Jimmy Fallon. We've made it right. So we are now in New York and Sweet Revenge. So this is one of those surprises. Sweet Revenge. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a cool zone. It's gonna be kind of fun, like candy base. I like that. This ended up being my favorite scare zone of the year. And I was not expecting it to be my favorite scare zone of the year. I actually thought it was going to be Scarecrow. I absolutely loved Sweet Revenge. It is the zone where I spent the most time, just like sitting there, just chilling, like soaking up the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And It was a perfect zone in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely think so too. I just thought it was really great the way that they repurposed the Mardi Gras parade
Yes.
floats, and they made it into, like, a little traditional Halloween parade, Halloween festival kind of deal. And also the fact that, especially with the backstory, it kind of makes it, well, I'm not saying like you need to know the backstory to absolutely appreciate the scare
Exactly.
zone.
Yeah,
That's
you're
not the
absolutely
case.
right. Yeah.
Like you just say, hey, there's candy, there's kind of these adult heads being beheaded, so these kids are just kind of killing off the adults.
Yeah,
Kind
like
of the
it's
point, kind of thing,
when
like,
it comes to the backstory, I feel like it isn't essential to understand it,
yeah,
which I think is what's important about what a backstory is supposed to do, because you're supposed to understand what's going on without having to listen to backstory, but backstory is just supposed to like expand it for you and just kind of like immerse you a little bit more into it, but it's not supposed to, explain everything for you.
right,
And that's what I felt like Sweet Revenge did really well, because you go in there, you understand everything that's going on. You may not understand exactly why it's happening, but that's part of the backstory. But
yeah,
you understand, hey, it's messed up Halloween candy, kids are running amok, run for your fucking lives.
yeah.
Like it's simple, it's concise. Kids are creepy, crotch goblins everywhere.
Mhm.
Not only that, they are candy hopped up crotch goblins. Shit.
It's
um
taking candy hype to a whole new
oh yeah.
level, y'all.
And again, like what you like, the atmosphere was so much fun. It felt it reminded me of Trick or Treat
Right.
with like the whole check your candy thing, plus the whole like homemade vibe of everything. Because it
Yeah.
literally felt like it's your small town's Halloween party gone horribly wrong.
And the thing is, like, it just felt like Halloween all year round because, um, even then, like, with all the kids running amok, it's the classic Halloween costumes that kind of sold it for me.
Exactly.
You like the really cheesy, like, baby outfit.
The
Then there's a
robot costume. The
robot.
robot
Then there's a
costume.
cat,
I
like,
love the robot and the pirate, and I love the
witch,
pirate too.
pirate. It was everything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't need to have like very elaborate costumes for a kid. It was just
Exactly. Because it's
simple. And
supposed to
then
be,
the
yeah, it's supposed to
clown.
be, especially because it's supposed to be a period piece. It's supposed to be in the 50s, I think.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense to have like homemade looking, like goofy looking costumes, because there were Spirit Halloweens in the 50s.
Yeah,
This stuff wasn't
exactly.
out there. But what I do love is that you could go to Spirit Halloween and be like, oh yeah, here's the masks they used.
Oh my gosh,
And
the
I
mask.
love
I
that
found
so much.
the
I
cat
love
mask. I was
that.
like, oh my
I
god.
love that so much because I was like, you could tell that it was literally like, hey, like this is literally what a kid would buy for Halloween as a
Yeah.
costume, and I loved it. But yeah, like the music was great too. I love the 50s like doo-wop style music, mixed with like literally like sounds of people yelling and being killed and that kind of stuff was so much fun.
Right.
I mean, we got to give it up to
And the
Major Sweets
projection
himself,
too.
Major Sweets and Miss Treats herself. They were
Yeah.
just perfection. I love
Yeah.
them. Like
There's a lot of
I
cute
was not
stuff going
expecting it.
around.
I was not expecting to love that zone as much as I did. Like I remember one specific night. I think we were in front of, yeah, we were in front of the Haagen Dazs because I think that's what it is. I don't think it's a Ben and Jerry's anymore. And we were literally just like sitting there, not even eating, not even drinking. We're just relaxing, just watching the actors like at play. And I was laughing so hard at all the people getting scared. I was just enjoying seeing, because you could tell the actors were having a really fun time. Like that for me was like one of the most important parts. Like, sure, obviously they're doing their jobs and everything, but you could tell that they were like really enjoying what they were doing and like the vibe of everything.
Yeah. I would enjoy it too every time like I would go through, and some of them would catch me by surprise. It's not, I guess this year it was kind of a little hard to scare me, but I mean they got me once in a while, so I genuinely enjoyed that scare zone in general. Like I said, it's just like it just felt like Halloween all year round. How Halloween should feel like, I
Hmm.
guess, like an atmospheric way.
Which is something
So
that we
yeah,
should discuss when it comes to the scare zones, and that's something I think we talked about when all the scare zones got announced. But like I felt, and this still rang true. Almost every scare zone had something to do with like the classic tenets of Halloween as a holiday. Because you
right,
had, you know, obviously opening like the whole thing at the opening was like all the pumpkins. That's very, you know, fall, very Halloween. Then you move on to Sweet Revenge, which is very much like the trick or treating aspect and the candy aspect of everything. And then you had Conjure the Dark with the mystic and folk horror and like origins of Samhain, you know, like cultic aspects of it. Um, and then you had spirits. What is it? Spirits Undead? Is that what it was called?
uh, for scare zones,
Yeah, this the one with this
graveyard, deadly unrest.
Deadly Unrest, where you know like that whole thing of Halloween night is the one night where the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. So like those little things are the ones that I love. The only one that didn't really fit the theme was Scarecrow for some reason.
Yeah,
Like it didn't have any really thing to do with like the Halloween vibe, except for maybe like the corn maze thing.
yeah, and also scarecrows. But
But
even
scarecrows are
then,
like
like
a whole year, like a year round thing. They're not specifically for Halloween. That's what I was like, eh.
yeah,
But we'll get to that. But yeah, and then when it came to Sweet's Revenge, when it came to the overall props, like the whole, you know, like here's the costume contest area, here's all the parade floats, like it definitely captured that vibe of like it's the street party for Halloween.
right,
And the projections were really cool too in the windows. I don't know if you ever
yeah.
noticed them with like the people getting killed in the
I
windows.
did. I
Oh,
thought
I
that was
loved it.
super cool, and I was like, oh, what a nice little detail, you know. But yeah, for Sweet Revenge, definitely, I think it was. I don't know, like, was it my favorite? I can't tell. I'm like the thing is like, I feel like I spent my time in Sweet Revenge the most in Scare Zone wise, so maybe it's my favorite.
Hmm.
But I'll get more into detail about other things as well. But for Sweet Revenge, I think will give it a 8 out of 10 tombstones for me
Okay.
because
I
it was
would I would give it a
definitely a
9.
perfection thing.
I would give it a 9 out of 10 for me. Like
Yeah,
that's how much I loved it.
yeah,
Like normally whenever I'm in the park for horror nights, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna really do any houses today. I'm just gonna kind of chill today. Um, I found myself almost every night gravitating towards Sweet Revenge because I was like, this is where I vibe the most. Like this is where I just feel like this is the spot.
yeah,
Because you know, like you can't really describe like explain it, but you just like you feel like drawn to it. You're like, this is just where it needs to happen.
yeah.
Not to mention, I completely forgot this. Not to mention the little snack area that was all Leave It to Cleaver related. I mean, come on, come on,
Hmm.
come on. It was Leave It to Cleaver. I had to be there.
Would you consider that part of Sweet Revenge though?
I guess I would since it still had like that '50s vibe to it.
Yeah, I think for me that's where the 2 points kind of deduct, I guess.
Okay.
I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I liked the callback to it, and because it's still like the 1950s vibe. But like, why the boo holes if you're not gonna use them?
That's why it doesn't have a 9. That's why I only gave it a 9. This would have had a 10 out of 10 if I had Mr. Meat scaring me at some point during the night in that boo hole.
Yeah,
He
but I
should have
mean,
been in there.
to be fair, they were selling food, but I don't know how it would go with like
People spilling
service
it and that kind of stuff
person
too.
selling it, that kind of thing. And so I wouldn't know, but it would have been made it better, at least for me. I don't care about everybody else, for
Hmm.
me. But it's
Yeah.
still a high ranking for
Or
me.
or I would have at least have, you know, like Sam Meats at like at some point or another, just like kind of there, just like walking around a little bit and be like, oh, thank you for coming to my shop, you know?
Yeah,
At
but
least like
I'm
something like
sure
that,
that they
just
would have
something a
given him
little
a
extra.
chainsaw and chasing half the people out the thing anyway. But I'm sure that was in the plans. But I guess later
Maybe
on they
they,
just
yeah.
assumed that it wasn't a good idea. But big sad, big
Overall, I
sad.
was when they first announced that, I was like, holy shit, he's back.
Right.
I've got the Mr. Meat smile on my face now. But yeah, so you gave it an 8, I give it a 9. Not a bad way to give it a ranking there, I think. It was a good zone. A really good zone. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
It ranks up there with some of my favorite zones, honestly. Um, but moving on, we have now walked through New York, through that weird statue of that one guy whose name I don't know because I never look. And we are making our way towards San Francisco. We stop to say hello to family. Then we keep going.
Oh my gosh.
I had to do it.
Gross.
And we have
Anyway.
made it to San Francisco, and we have entered Conjure the Dark, which was the absolute sexiest scare zone, surprisingly. Listen, did you not see that shirtless demon man?
I did. I mean, his horns was as hard as me, but hey, like I'm complaining.
His horns were as hard as me.
Like,
damn.
Okay, first of
well,
all,
I just wasn't. I was expecting it.
This scares are real quick. You walk in, there's heavy music going on, really metal heavy music and whatnot. Sometimes some maybe Viking-esque music going on, and then you see like these mythological creatures that look
they were
kind
like
of
orcs?
Celtic, kind of Viking, all at the same time.
They reminded
and
me of
obviously
orcs.
There's like Norway runes, like they also had the Norwegian compass, and they have like different kind of runes on the in writing and whatnot. There's like orcs, there's demons, there's a witch that looks like Daphne. That was like the biggest joke ever.
They look like Daphne. Oh my god!
Yeah, that is literally the biggest running joke of Conjure the Dark. And then there is like a midsummer looking girl that's supposed to be the sacrifice and whatnot. So it's just like located in, of course, probably, I'm not saying the worst possible area. I'm just saying that those trail tracks are dangerous. Twisted ankles everywhere, mind you. But I mean, I do enjoy the fact that it is dark. The lighting is beautiful. The set dressing is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
The actors of orcs and stuff is beautiful. But I guess, for me, just me personally, me as in Vania, not Yussef. I don't know what the fuck he actually thinks, but the music fucking kills that vibe for me. I was like, why would you put super heavy rock music when we're supposed to like be concentrating on the rituals of the first Halloween? Like, are you saying that rock music existed back then?
I mean, did you look around? It was all rocks.
I want to kill myself anyway. I was like, please, someone just give me a knife and me anyway. I'm gonna gingerbread, peppermint, mint this candy cane on my eye. Sorry. Need to get with the theme. Get with the program. You know how it is. Right now it's November. Wait, turkey leg. Yeah, I'll put a turkey leg on my eye. That's a nice one. Gobble gobble.
No, just put.
Anyways,
what are you gonna just put turkey leg grease in your eyes?
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess that was like my biggest problem with Conjure the Dark was the music, because it didn't feel with the theme. I liked the whole rune, like Viking Celtic vibe and going back to like the old traditions, but I guess like what got lost in translation was the mythological part of things, rather than explaining that I guess these are all demons that people believe that existed, rather than coexisting with witches. Because of course, like with the sacrifice, seemed like she was confused that like all these things were happening around her, and like witches are like, great, like I have friends who are orcs and demons, and then she's like, what the fuck, I'm being sacrificed, and why is everybody listening to rock music? Why is everybody just like looking sexy and like trying to sacrifice me kind of deal? So like, yeah, I like I said, I really enjoy the set dressing. I enjoy the mythological part. I guess for me, it just got lost in translation. Conjure the Dark looked a little too mixed messagey for me.
And I get that. I'm inclined to agree with you, especially when it comes to the music.
Yeah,
I feel like they should have gone more for like a tribal, like Celtic folk music.
Yeah,
With like something, I think like something that would have been a better fit. I was okay with everything else. I was okay with like the whole like orc looking creatures, the horned man, the demonic looking things.
They were just trying to do Halloween Game of Thrones.
Halloween of Thrones.
Halloween Thrones.
Overall, I enjoyed it. Again, I still had some issues with it. I definitely agree with you with like losing some of like the mythological aspect of it, especially if you weren't lucky enough to like catch the sacrifice mini show. I feel like that made it a little better.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just kind of breeze through it, it was kind of hard to really figure out what was going on. Especially, this is my biggest issue with the zone. It's not even the zone itself; it's the location.
Twisty Ankle.
Twisty Ankle Land is also very, very small. It's very, very constricted. And I hate walking through there sometimes because sometimes you cannot tell who the actors are and who the regular people are.
Yeah.
Because everybody just gets so scrunched up in there.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I hate the most about those zones, like that specific area.
Yeah.
Because it happened with it happened with Crypt TV every once in a while when they were walking outside of the little like sets that they had. And it definitely happens with Invasion in 2017, I think it was. It wasn't as bad with the Rob Zombie zone because it was open enough and the props were smaller that it was a little bit easier to walk through.
Right.
Especially because of those raised platforms, so they weren't just on the ground. People weren't all scrunched up in there.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that worked a little better. But,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this year, it was outside of, like, the whole, like, sexy, witchy vibe it gave out, which I loved. The music kind of threw me off as well. I agree with you on that. I love the music. It just didn't fit the zone.
Yeah.
And again, the whole thing with, like, spacing and people, like, getting, like, really tight in there together.
Yeah.
Like, those two were my biggest drawbacks. So, with that, I would have to give it a 7.
It's a 6. It's a 6 for me, dog.
It's gonna be a 6 from me, dog. I can
Yeah.
understand that. Yeah, I respect your ranking on that. Like, I understand why you would give it that.
So, like I said, if it wasn't so lost in translation, and also like they don't really point this out. I mean, if you look at the map, I'm guessing you can find this out on your own, but they don't also like point. I guess they don't continue the zone where it could potentially lead for more sales in a way. Like so, like behind that scare zone, behind the boat house, I guess you could say boat house
Mm-hmm.
area, there's like a bar that they made it all witchy vibe and all that stuff.
Yes,
And I
they
feel
should
like
have extended the zone out into that.
so it could cause more draw to sales for alcohol if they really wanted to. It was actually a very chill area. It wasn't always not that busy actually.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually like
People-
kind of chill back
because
there.
people didn't
if
really
you
even
knew
notice
about
it.
But like people don't realize that it's a part of the zone because
Yeah.
the decor kind of goes with it, and it's cool because they have like these like rune light up tables that you can put your drinks on, and it's fucking cool as shit. But like it gets lost because nobody knows that it's there half the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh,
Like
you
the
know, they should have
yeah.
just expanded it. I mean, I guess they're scared that it will leak into the Harry Potter world, but a little bit shouldn't be a huge problem, you know?
It's not
Or
a
make it-
huge leak. I would have just like I wouldn't have extended it all the way out there. I would have just extended and stopped right before the bar. So that way when
Yeah.
you leave the zone, you're already right, the bar is right next to you.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's what they should have done. I feel like they stopped that zone too early. That it could have extended it out a little bit more.
Could have done better on sales, but you
Yeah.
know.
I
But
think
to be
'cause-
fair,
'cause-
everybody was fucking buying the
Yeah.
lacto cooler, but what was the difference?
I fucking
about
love the lacto cooler, by the way. I thought it was delicious.
I never got it, so I
Oh
was
my
very
god, it was
sad
so
that-
good. I really wish they would sell it outside. I need to find to see
They
if maybe
do
they
it
sell
one
it.
up bar.
Oh, do they?
Sells it,
Oh, but I
yeah.
kind of, I mean, like, for me to take home. I mean, like, to like, buy cans of for myself. That's what I want. Maybe online. Maybe, like, the company that makes it probably sells it that you can buy it from.
Probably, but I
I'll have
know
to
that
look.
One Up bar, which they
Yeah.
just recently opened up in downtown, which is under the same ownership as Cocktails and Screams, sells it. So
Okay, that's good to know. Because I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. It was a really good drink. It was good actually. Yeah, I liked it. But yeah, like I'm not gonna lie. The first couple of nights, I didn't even notice that bar.
Yeah, for me,
Didn't
I
even notice it.
didn't go until the third or fourth night, maybe at most.
Like it wasn't. It was literally until like that third or fourth night where I was like, oh shit, that's a bar. It's like stuff. There's
Yeah,
stuff to see in there. Didn't even notice it because I was just like, okay, now I'm into Harry Potter land. I don't need to see anything else.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But moving on. Or do you have anything else you want to say?
oh no,
Okay.
I'm just gonna travel with you to Scarecrow.
We continue on our travels. Our steps are getting counted. Our Fitbits are ringing here and there. We're walking past the London section of the park, right below, next to Zygon Alley. We make it past
Simpsons
Nightmare
area.
Nightmare Fuel,
Nightmare
and
Fuel, Simpsons area.
immediately we get sexually awakened and we get distracted, but then we move away from that because we got to keep it in our pants,
Okay,
people.
honestly, let's just go here. Let's just go here. Quickly, very quickly, very briefly, because there was only very little. There was only very little shows. So Nightmare Fuel. Um Nightmare Fuel was good. I like the costume changes this year. It's basically the same show
It is.
as last year.
It is.
Almost.
It's very
I'm just
similar to
saying,
the same show.
everything was okay. And so they did have different songs. They did have different acts, but they did start out the same way, the same 3 or 4 songs that they required in the opening. There were different songs in the middle. So they kept the Ashes from Ghost, they kept the other one, and they also kept what was it? Ah, God, I forget. I think the fire, the fire, well, Believer. I think they kept Believer. So there's a lot of the songs. So basically, you go on to Spotify, find the playlist for Nightmare Fuel, and compare it with Wildfire. Same shit. Wildfire actually came back too. So it's just different costume changes, a different person. I guess it's like the same person goes through different persons each Halloween go through the same nightmare,
Mm-hmm.
slightly different. Sexy. The only thing that they got rid of was the area, like the silk aerobics person, and they
Mm-hmm.
replaced it with a ring slash like, well, yeah, like a ring aerobic person. I mean, they did keep a silk one, but it's a girl this time instead of the guy, because the guy used to be with Academy of Villains, but he's no longer working for Universal anymore, so it's another girl. And then they have like a ring guy, and that's it. Yeah. So basically, Nightmare Fuel is the same. I can't give it a ranking because
Oh, I
I
wasn't gonna
just
give it
think,
one either because it's almost the exact same show. It's just a couple different tweaks, like slightly
yeah,
different theming. But outside of that, there wasn't whole lot of changes being made. I mean, it's still a
yeah.
sexy show. It's still fun to watch, but
Yeah, the only thing different is that last year they put the guy in a box, while this year they put him on the bed for a sacrifice
mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So like, and last year they just poked holes and then it would explode and then he would appear somewhere else. The main antagonist gets on the guy very sexually, mind you, and I was like, oh wait,
What is
should
happening
we
right
just
now?
should we just go into cognito mode right now, because this is getting too much right now.
Is
But
it
then she
possible?
like
Is it possible
almost
to
like
delete?
riding him in a way. I was like, wait, listen. I was like, wait.
I'm over here like, is it possible to delete real life search history?
I mean, yeah, delete history immediately. And then she gets off, and then there's like a bed
Sorry,
of
I'm sorry.
tears
That just made
like
me
about
laugh.
to come on him. He comes like in through.
I'm sorry.
God,
I'm sorry.
God.
This is just too funny. I'm like, yeah, she gets off. He comes.
He,
Hey, listen. As long as you're both happy,
oh
the
no.
mirror breaks and he's coming.
Oh God. Okay, no. Basically, like he's on the bed. The spears kind of go into his entire body. He explodes. He appears somewhere else. Basically, same show. There some different aspects. No, if you want to get your pants horny again next year, sure they'll have
I'm sure they'll
again,
bring it back. It's still a
those
popular
are bring
show.
back. It's still the same thing. Anyway, so we already got horny and nightmare fuel. We were walking, and we walk, and then
And we keep walking.
we keep walking, and then we go into Simpsons, and then we get scared by chainsaw people. Typical,
Actually, no, there
unofficial.
wasn't a chainsaw horde in Simpsons this year,
Yes,
was
there
there?
was. Yes, there was.
Oh yeah, there was. It was just
There
smaller.
was.
It was a smaller section this time though,
Smaller chainsaw people that
because they
they're
were
always the
spread out.
chainsaw drill team.
Because they were a little bit more spread out across the park this time. Because there were some over by like the Transformers area, there were some by the front of the park, and then there were some by the Simpsons. That's right.
Yeah, I guess to fill up all the empty holes that they have
Which makes
in the
sense.
park. So then we arrive at our beautiful Scarecrow Cursed Soil scare zone. We see all these kind of burlap sack characters. We see corn. Then we get to take a shot every time someone says it's corn. And then there's like even people with pumpkin heads
There was
and
Jonathan
burlap
Davis.
scarecrow. Large walkways to be a distraction. And yeah, I mean it had sneeze.
I mean, we also had Jonathan Davis.
Yes, Jonathan Davis.
Who's Jonathan
I'm very
Davis?
confused.
He's the lead singer of Korn.
Yes, I know. That's why I was like, why? He's Christian now, isn't he? Like,
I'm still allowed to make the joke.
but yeah, so we have all the kinds of the same vibe as Scarecrow that we had years ago, just in a scare zone. They're a little bit more open, but they're still just as scary.
Yeah, it was
dark.
This is a fun zone to walk through. Funny enough, I didn't get really scared in this zone, but I was having fun watching people get scared.
I was terrified.
And really, I think like my favorite thing about it was actually the makeup looks for everything, like the Scarecrow designs, especially the ravens, like closer to the edge by the barn area.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love their costumes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love those so much. Like that for me, in terms of like costume work and set design, they were really well made.
I agree. I mean, I think it was cool though. I liked the soundtrack that was in. It made it more eerie. They were obviously very intense scare actors. But like I said, it's just like even with the very elaborate scare zone that they had, and it made it fun. It was just kind of hard to walk through.
Yeah, I will say, boo hole wise, I really like that little boo hole that was supposed to be like the Scarecrow kind of bursting through the door.
Yeah,
that one was really good. Because the other ones just kind of had like your typical boo holes where they like hide in the back and then just pop out. But this one had like a legit door that he would like push through, and I was like, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure it was dangerous as someone smacking them in the face kind of thing. So. But yeah, but besides that, it had scarecrows and corn and
and
corn,
ravens and wolves.
ravens and whatnot. Basically everything that you can think. Tractors. There were tractors.
Tractors. It was John Deere.
So, and it had more elaborate pieces, so it just felt like a little farm up in the middle of autumn, so it was great. For this scare zone, I liked it. I got scared a few times. It just sucked when it was very busy because you couldn't see shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it just kind of, I just wish they did a little bit more with it because I feel like the scare actors couldn't mostly go to their potential on like opening, day, and even people that are on the super like busy nights, they couldn't move around a lot. And I've been to those nights where there were no scare actors at all. So like I've been to HHN 8 times this year, I counted. And like I can say like more than half of those times there was barely any scare actors or no scare actors at all. So or they just kind of walked around very nonchalantly, like to avoid any injury rather than like, being able to do their full movements like the way that they wanted to. So that was unfortunate, but it is what it is.
I agree. Yeah, there was on those busy nights, it was kind of hard to push through. I didn't have as hard a time walking through it, but it was just like because of the amount of people, it was hard to really appreciate the actors' work. because, like you said, there wasn't a whole lot of space at that point available for them to really play with and move around with. Um, but I will say it was really pretty to look at, especially that giant barn display. That was really nice. Those are. I was not gonna lie. I was kind of hoping they would do like the back in the day route where they would have like a small walkthrough area next to the scare zone, like they did with like when they did what was it? The oh god, what was the name of it? The one was like that was like based around pumpkins and jack o' lanterns. You remember how they had like the giant like abandoned church on the left?
Yeah, that was Twisted
Twisted
Tradition.
Tradition. That's what it was. Yeah. So I remember when they did like the Walking Dead house, they had Herschel's farm, like barn that you could walk through, and like right where that thing was built, and then they had the schoolhouse back in '08 where you could walk through the schoolhouse. I feel like they could have also added that because they had the space for it.
Right.
Actually, wait, no, because didn't the crepe station get put in there? Maybe that's why they couldn't do it because they got the crepe station stand
Yeah.
in there. That's
Oh,
probably why they couldn't do it.
yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But overall, the overall like design and scale of the barn was really nice.
I agree.
So there was still, I don't know what it was. There were still sections where like I just felt like I wasn't vibing to it as much as I wanted to. Like sometimes like certain nights it just felt like something was off.
Right. They were just scare actors that just weren't there, or they were just scare actors that weren't there as normal. I don't know. Like maybe it might be between cast, or maybe like it just felt empty in some spots. But yeah, I definitely agree. I understand the vibe. But mind you, from inside resources, I guess you could say that Scarecrow, off like Scarecrow people or just Scare Zone people in general were just getting pulled to the houses on even the nights that there were barely any Scare Zones at all,
Yeah,
get
yeah.
any actors at all in the houses. So houses
I've
get
heard
more
that same
priority
thing.
over Scare Zones. So that also could have been a factor, but
Yeah, and I completely understand like where that's coming from because I from the same sources. I remember hearing about that as well of like people being like, "Yeah, I'm usually working a zone. Guess now I'm working the house now
yeah.
because they didn't have enough people in the houses." Um, yeah, this one I would give. I think I would give this as 7 out of 10.
I think I'll give it a 5 out of 10 because
Wow.
I enjoyed the scare zone. I enjoyed the scare zone overall. Don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
I just wish there was, I guess, a little bit more intensity, like it was back then. I guess with the
Okay.
house,
I was
if it
not
was
expecting
as
that low though.
intense. I mean, I enjoyed the overall set design. It was beautiful, and I felt like I was walking through an old corn maze. But the scare actors were giving it their all. I just, like I said, it was just the I guess the performance and the lack of, I guess, energy in that scare zone was not giving
Hmm.
it. Just the thing is, like, it was just a fun scare zone to look at while I was getting to my next destination. I guess you could say I'm like, oh, I'm looking at something
I
while I
agree.
get to
Yeah,
my next
I see what you mean.
destination,
Yeah, it was
which is
like.
usually like the Universal Monsters Legends Collide or Weekend, but
Hmm. I mean, yeah, like I said, yeah, it was nice to look at. It was fun to walk through every once in a while. Like some
yeah,
certain moments where I was just like, I just need to get out of here.
yeah.
Um, but outside of that, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it for the most part. I would still give it, yeah, I would just give it a 7. Like I said, there was still moments where I felt like the vibe was kind of off.
Right.
Um,
So
but
at this point, we walk past
the die-in,
Scarecrow, and no, 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 no.
what?
We take a little detour.
Where are we
We're
going?
taking a detour to Ghoulish,
Oh yes, we are
and
stopping at Ghoulish.
Ghoulish is very cute.
It
I
was
mean,
adorable.
it was a very cute slash like very I don't want to use this word, but I kind of have to. But I don't hate it. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Don't take this as it was okay. It was fantastic actually. It was a very Disney-esque show. Kind of. But either way, so Ghoulish was basically like putting all the like Halloween elements and making it into a very cutesy Mickey's Not So Scary, but then like amplify it maybe by 9, and then you got yourself an adult-ish like uh festival of Halloween traditions like show, which
Yeah.
there's like skeletons and witches and full moons and also like different remixes of traditional songs of like Season of the Witch and all this other stuff. But unfortunately, thanks to a motherfucker, not by motherfucker, force of nature, Mother Nature, and exactly by September 29th, Hurricane Ian hit Florida and it hasn't come back since. So if you guys were
Well, it
even
never came back.
remotely lucky enough, no, it never came back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just no sense. It just never came back.
Yeah, Ghoulish just never came back after that. It was very disappointing because it was a very like you try to cool down in the middle of your park visit. This was the show to look at. I mean,
Yeah.
and then there was like music from The Weeknd. There was like different kind of elements of like I don't know, like fall stuff, pumpkins and things, and I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was super cute, especially with the whole old vibe of the vinyl and the radio. It just seemed very analog horror too, which was
Mhm.
fantastic. So I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved
this was a
it.
really good show. It was a lot of fun. I really really enjoyed it. To be honest, I think I might have enjoyed it a little bit more than Marathon of Mayhem.
Yeah, I did too.
Like it was just a fun show to watch.
Like it made me feel all fuzzy
Yeah,
Halloween
it was.
night. Like
It
it
gave
was
you
very
it.
nice.
It gave you the Halloween version of like the Christmas fuzzies.
Yeah, exactly. Like it didn't make you feel like, oh, like, oh, it was all right. Or like,
It was like I
like,
feel
oh,
I
like,
feel the Halloween spirit in me now. I
yeah,
am ghoulish.
exactly.
I am become ghoulish.
It was just so freaking cool. And I enjoy the projections this year. And
Mm-hmm.
it just, especially
Yeah.
like the old timey remix music, I just enjoyed it all. So basically, 9 out of 10. Good job, Universal.
Yeah. I would give it an 8. Because like at the end of the day, it's still just like a regular show. It doesn't have like anything like one of those. It doesn't have like a wow moment for me still.
It's just a really good Halloween phantasmic for Universal.
I
I'll put it up
guess.
there. I'll put it up there. I mean, there's no characters in the water if that's what you're expecting. I
Well,
don't
no,
know
no. I just mean
what kind
like,
of fan like I don't know what kind of production Yussef is expecting, but I thought so.
well, what I'm saying is like, it wouldn't be a bad thing if it did, if it had
Yeah,
characters. You know,
yeah.
I'm just spoiled.
I know.
I'm just phantasmic spoiled.
Oh. Anyway, I mean, I like Phantasmic. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Oh,
just
I
saying that.
believe Phantasmic is my favorite nighttime show at Disney. So.
I mean, it is for me too, but I'm just saying, like, the Universal, I mean, they're two different beasts. We can't just start
That's
copying off
true.
each other.
Yeah,
It's the fact.
I know.
Anyways, but we're going back out into the park, going through the die-in kind of thing. And then we go into our lovely
We're stopping for some tequila first.
no tequila.
Yes,
Anyway,
tequila.
no tequila.
Yes, tequila.
Anyway, oh my god. I've never seen you drink a drop of tequila at the park.
You've never seen
Yeah.
me. Doesn't mean I haven't.
Oh my god.
Wait, did you not hear about my
Anyway.
Odyssey where I tried all the mixed drinks this year?
No, I wasn't.
Some more than once because
Yes,
I was just like I'm gonna make it my mission this year. I'm gonna try all the drinks,
Oh no. Anyway,
and it was so much fun.
R.I.P. I bet.
I mean,
Hope you weren't driving that
I didn't
day.
try them all. No, I didn't try them all in one day. I tried them like every single night I was there. I would try a different one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm responsible, ish,
Ish.
ish.
I heard what happened at the Halloween party.
Listen, it's on a TikTok. I'm sure almost
I'm
everybody
sure.
can see it.
Anyways, so we go back out into the Hollywood area, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And then we arrive at our lovely
Our final stop.
graveyard, deadly unrest scare zone, which is basically Greenwood Cemetery.
It's
And
Haunted
you have
Mansion
basically Haunted Mansion. Take it up a notch to like
to 11.
maybe to 11 and just make it super scary. But you know what? I there's like dead people, Victorian dead people kind of Reaper, traditional ghosts, old fashioned ghosts, all everything in
It was
between.
fucking awesome.
It was really good. I will say that I wish I spent more time in the scare zone than I have spent in Sweet Revenge. I feel like I almost forgot about Deadly Unrest every time, but when I did, I always had to like always speed walk through that scare zone because I was always trying to leave the park at some time because I work at very hellish deadly hours. But every time I would pass by, I was just like, "Oh my god! Like I wish I could spend more time in this scare zone because it is absolutely beautiful, very like dark, and it's like it has all the fog, it has all the scary scare zone, like
Mhm.
scary scare actors. There's even like a very like derpy ghost, like
Dude,
skeleton ghost called Walter.
you leave
So
Backpack Ghost alone. You respect
I
and
love
love
him though.
Backpack Ghost.
He's
He
cute,
is
and
not derpy. He is cute.
he's cute and
He is
derpy.
boy.
Anyway, he is boy, and then there's like, and then there's the twins that are always playing with each other, and I just felt I would just wish I spent a lot more time in the scare zone than I would like to admit. I can describe it to you. I just always had to speed walk through the scare zone because I was always trying to go somewhere. But I very much enjoyed it because it is definitely a very beautiful haunted mansion kind of s take it up to 11
Yeah,
scare zone.
it was definitely like your traditional scare zone. It was literally like, hey, you're in a cemetery filled with ghosts. Like it does not get more classic than that. And I loved it. Like I love the theming of the way they set up the props for like the graveyard itself with like the nice like bright red brick colors but like aged down, and the mausoleum sections and all that kind of stuff were really well done.
Yeah.
I loved all the actors in there. Like they were really like, it was literally like walking through the ending graveyard scene in Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
Like that's what it felt like. Except it wasn't much. It wasn't as much of a party. It was more of like a really like somber, dark, like grim, almost depressing to walk through at points. But like not in
Yeah.
a bad way. But like where you can like, it definitely gave you the vibe of like you're walking in a place that's like where a lot of tragedy has occurred.
Right.
Like it definitely gave you the vibe, and like you felt it. Um, and I gotta give major props to the two people up on the like the little stage area, like the two
Yeah. The
Grim Reapers
Reaper.
with the freaking wings that would open. Like
Yeah.
holy fucking
They're so
shit, that
cool.
was so impressive. And Backpack Ghost, we love you,
And
Backpack
backpack.
Ghost,
Derpy backpack ghost.
Derpy Backpack Ghost. But yeah,
But
no, like
anyway,
it was a
also
really fun
congratulations to also the Scare Zone Graveyard Deadly Arrest for winning Scare
Scares of the
Zone of
Year.
the Year. So good job,
Very
guys.
well deserved, yeah. I mean, you guys, you were my favorite. You were my second favorite Scare Zone after Sweet Revenge. Like, if Sweet Revenge was a completely different type of Scare Zone, like if they had gotten something wrong with the theming, Deadly Unrest would have won it in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
Like
I
any
agree.
other year, Deadly Unrest would be like the fucking Scare Zone.
I agree. I agree.
Like, wow, what a way to do it. And for some of the people that I know that were working it, you guys were incredible. Like, wow, holy shit! Thank you so much for everything you did. Same as, and honestly, anybody that we know that worked in any of the scare zones, like you guys were amazing. You killed it. Like, thank you so much for doing everything.
Yeah, for your time, for your
Y'all
effort.
were fucking
The
awesome.
Hellish Nights. Yes. But yeah, so unfortunately, I mean not unfortunately, we haven't done the ranking. Anyway,
That's
so
part one.
Deadly Unrest. You guys got a 8.5 out of 10 for me. You guys were really good. I just wish I stayed in your scare zone a lot longer. And because I'm not saying that you guys were forgetful, you guys weren't. I just wish you guys are always like this that last spot I hit before I have to leave the park. So like if I had, I would probably like be in there all the time because grim feelings are my vibe because if not I would be taking aesthetic pictures in Sweet Revenge. If not for the low lighting, I would have been taking aesthetic pictures in Greenwood. That's why everybody took pictures, I guess,
Is it Nettlewood?
in the beginning of
I
the
thought it was
season before there
Nettlewood.
was even the scare actors were there. But regardless, 8.5 out of 10 for me.
I think it was called, wasn't it called Nettlewood Cemetery?
Nettlewood. I thought it was Greenwood. Why the
No,
fuck am I confusing Greenwood?
not Greenwood.
Anyway,
No.
it's Nettlewood. My bad.
But no, I give it the same ranking. Like it is like it was neck and neck with Sweet Revenge for me. Like
Yeah,
it was just beautiful. Like
that was very
the
good.
moment I saw the pictures for when the props came out, I was like, oh, this zone is gonna be this zone is gonna kill it.
Yeah.
And I was right. I'm so happy I was right. But yeah, that is part one of our review on Horror Nights 31. Because now we move on to the meat and potatoes. We move on to the 10 haunted houses that we were gifted this year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, we're making our loop through the park again. First one up on the list. Surprise number one. Hellblock Horror.
Oh, Hellblock.
Hellblock Horror, huh?
Honestly, I can't.
Hellblock Horror was a
Well, but
mixed
to be
bag.
fair, guys, I even though I've been through these houses 1,000 times, I wouldn't be able to tell you neck to neck what happened in each room. But I guess we can tell you the best summary of the houses. Because I guess we can't just all memorize the entire house, room for room for room, because I'm sure
Mhm.
there's like thousands of rooms in there. But we can tell you a bit of a summarize. But yeah, Hellblock Horror.
So,
Let's get this right.
right off the bat, I'm gonna say like the brief synopsis of Hellblock Horror is literally you walking through a prison in the middle of a riot. What I was not expecting is that there were barely any human prisoners. It's almost all monsters.
Right.
And I'll get to my little headcanon about Hellblock Horror in just a second because I want to say this is one of the houses that I was the least excited for because I was like, oh, it's just gonna be a prison, nothing really like that I haven't seen before. Until I walked through it. I think my first walkthrough was good. My second walkthrough was fucking legendary. Because my second walkthrough, I was being pulsed, so I walked through that house all by my lonesome. No one in front, no one behind, just me, myself, and a hungry, hungry cast of disgusting, horrible monsters. And I was having the worst, but also the best time of my life. Because, oh my god, that house was scarier. Like, it got progressively scarier as the event went on, I think. Like, it got like, more intense.
Right.
Like, at first I thought it was a mixed bag, and there's definitely one big issue where all the monsters that you see in the house are all monsters that we have seen before in other scare zones and houses. Reason for that being, I think this has become kind of common knowledge at this point, this was supposed to be an Evil Dead house.
Yeah.
Last minute, that got scrapped. I think it had to do with I think it was supposed to be Evil Dead Rise, the new Evil Dead movie. But because that got delayed, they had to delay the project, otherwise it would have shown a lot of spoilers. So that's why they had to scrap that house, and they were like, shit, we need something last minute. We still got all the costumes from like a bunch of years ago. We'll toss them in there, we'll toss them in a prison. Hellblock Horror, here we go.
Yeah.
So you could tell it was slapped together last minute because of the monsters. At the same time, that created my headcanon that literally this is where all the monsters from Horror Nights live. They just break out every year and just cause mass pandemonium.
Yeah. That's what I've been thinking. I
That's
was
my
like,
headcanon. Like, this is just where
these
they
are
live.
just like all the monsters from HHN just kind of got locked up, and then they all just tried to escape. So they're all just trying
Yeah.
to cause fucking mayhem and trying to escape, and trying to get out into the Horror Nights park again and cause their shit. So that's my theory. I'm like, they
Yeah.
all just got locked up, and they're just trying to all leave. And
Like, there were some really fun moments, especially like if you're somebody that's like us that's gone through Horror Nights a good amount of times. So like seeing some of these characters, you're like, oh shit, it's one of the aliens from Invasion. Oh shit, that's the fucking Yeti from like Terror of the Yukon.
yeah,
And like seeing that kind of stuff again was fun. Yeah, the prison setting was kind of eh. Like that was like I think the only drawback, and again, it's because it was literally put together last minute. So like eh, but there were a few rooms that I'm not gonna lie were really fucking impressive. Like the one room where you get assaulted by strobe lights and a fog machine at the same time. If you
Yeah.
get that sweet spot, you're done for it because you cannot see shit. You
Yeah.
cannot see shit.
I agree. It's just
And
like, I can't see in front of me.
yeah, there's that, and then there's like the wraparound room with the Yeti in the middle. Because
Yeah.
I was not expecting his ass to jump out of the bars and like claw at you.
Yeah.
Twice
He
he did.
never did that to me. He never did that to me. So I was just kind of like always staring up at him, like, "What's up, fam?" Like,
Oh no, he did it twice at one point.
I don't know.
I didn't realize he could do it from like both ends of his little like cell area. So there was that, and then I think it was the final room where you're literally just surrounded by nothing but strobe lights.
Strobe lights and two monsters and two security guards. So
Yep. So that was good. Like I was not expecting this house to be as intense as it was. Now it's not at the same level as something as intense as like Graveyard Games was or Dead Exposure Patient Zero were or anything like that. It was definitely not that level of intensity,
yeah,
but it was up. It was close.
yeah,
I feel like if they had a little maybe a little bit more time to work on it, it would have been like really really intense, like a lot more. But overall, it was fun. I enjoyed walking through it. It was good.
yeah. I think one of my most memorable walkthroughs through Hellblock was that I talk mad shit about Hellblock because honestly, in my opinion, it wasn't all that special. But the thing about this house that obviously I talk mad shit, but it scares me because this is literally half, I guess, half the fun at HHN if you really think about it. But I just can't deal with loud noises because obviously loud noises causes startling sensory, and then startling sensory is like freak out moment. So basically, I started wearing earplugs to HHN so I can appreciate everything. I mean, they would still get me with the earplugs, don't get me wrong, but they still get me, but like when I forget them, I'm like severely fucked.
Mm.
But either way, so I went through Hellblock one time, and then I think I was by myself actually. But I wasn't by myself. I had people behind me. There was just I'm like I've been through this house a bunch of times. I ain't scared of shit. Whatever. Well, I'm like going through this huge group. I'm like I ain't scared of shit. So there's like this room that has nothing but strobe lights. Then when you get to the first cell, I did not expect him there, but there was like a really tall like alien dude on my right, and I didn't see him, and he almost like charged at me. He didn't walk, he charged at me, and I fell to the ground, screamed, crawled to a corner, and like yelled for like 2 seconds, and I was like, ah! And then I was like, okay, I have to keep moving. I was like Velma. I was like, where are my glasses? Kind of thing. So like, it was bad. I was like, that scare actor got me so bad. And
We
by the
actually
way,
we even forgot to I completely forgot to mention too. This is also where we get to see old Sparky again.
yeah, Sparky.
For those of you that don't know, old Sparky is the electric chair that's been featured in a bunch of houses at Horror Nights, like a bunch of houses.
Yeah.
So it was fun getting to see it again.
So I think for Hellblock, I think for me is gonna get a. I mean, this would have gotten it. Well, technically, let's give it a 6 out of 10. Yeah,
Okay.
6 out of 10.
I will give this one a 7. Again, outside of, some of the intense scares, you can tell it was slapped together last minute. You could tell that it was repeating a lot of stuff. So that's what brought it down for me.
Right.
But, I mean, it wasn't bad. It could have been worse. It could have been better, but it could have been worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
I mean, it wasn't bad. But
yeah.
Either way, we are leaving the line for Hellblock, which is right next to kind of a sister.
We've escaped the prison.
We have escaped the prison. So now we have Spirits of the Coven, which is basically 1920s witches that are trying to capture humans or you to make their witches brew. We walk through a bar, we see a whole bunch of witches kind of doing their rituals, trying to seduce you. other piano dudes trying to claw at you, a bartender trying to smash his glass at you, that kind of thing. But very old-timey 1920s vibe. You hear the music. But then this is when shit gets weird. We go through somehow a back side of the bar, speakeasy, what have you, and we see like almost like a tunnel with like different witches, and we're exposed to uglier witches, the traditional old ladies like, I'm gonna get you, my pretty, and shit like that. And then it just gets weirder. Then we somehow end up in some weird ruins tunnel thing, and yeah, it's a time.
Yeah.
It's a time. I mean, don't get me wrong. This house is aesthetically beautiful. It is very aesthetically beautiful, actually. The beginning is a little cheesy, with like, oh yeah, the password is witch's brew, and I'm like, madam,
My
like you hear that in the beginning.
my
I was like,
fucking brother was, oh god, he was so, I don't even know what the word to describe him is, but like whenever they would have like whenever the little audio cue would play when he's like, "What's the password?" All you hear is my brother in the background. He's going, "Penis."
oh no.
I'm like, why? Shut up. Stop.
Yeah. Anyway.
Spirits of the Coven.
Dear Diary. Anyway.
It was a mixed bag for me.
So it is very beautiful. It does expect all your witchy vibes. It fulfills your forbidden witchy vibes, but honestly, I mean, I have nothing great to say, but nothing bad, I guess. It's just like this house. I mean,
That's exactly how I feel. Just like, I want to say,
and like, it's good, don't get me wrong, like the costumes were on point, the witchy vibes were on point, the speakeasy. It just like when you get to that middle, you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
the middle completely loses me, honestly.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm all for storytelling, and mind you, Hellblock doesn't have much of a story.
Hellblock has like barely any story, but like I knew that already going in.
Yeah, I knew that going in, but then Spirits of the Coven just kind of tries too hard in a way. Like I was just like, I don't know, like I guess the witch's brew is I'm thinking of the actual alcoholic drink rather than also like what's it supposed to taste like anyway? Like what's this expectation? And I didn't see a single cocktail of witch's brew anywhere, so that just lowered my expectation even more. So I don't know. I was expecting maybe like a finger inside the cocktail. I don't fucking know. But all I got was a bottle being thrown at me or pretending to be thrown at me. But either way, so just witches coming at you. Like I said, it's just aesthetically pleasing. When you get to the middle, you're like, how the fuck did I get back here? Did I just sneak into the back of the kitchen and just end up in some weird tunnel area? Barbarian, is that you? But anyway, but like,
Bill Skarsgård, are you here?
Bill Skarsgård, are you here?
I can save you.
Yeah, like, yeah, Titties the movie, got it.
Titties
anyway. So, basically, yeah, I mean, I don't hate this house. I don't love it. I just felt like it was trying too hard. I just wish it kept on the first half of the house, then just continued it on and just made the progression, maybe like torture of humans would have been better. Maybe like, that weird butcher that we see in the middle. I'm like, what is his purpose? Why is he back here?
Exactly. Why is that butcher just there?
It's like, what is his purpose? Does he know about the witches? Why are we just cutting up a pig in the middle of fucking like speakeasy? Like, I know you guys are not sacrificing it because witches are clearly after humans, but here we are. But yeah.
I had
a lot to say of this house, so sorry.
No, you're okay. I didn't have the highest expectations, but I was moderately excited for Spirits of the Coven, especially after the description of like, hey, it's witches in the flapper era in the 20s and 30s. I'm like, oh hell yeah, we're gonna get like an expanded version of the Kitty Cat Club.
Yeah.
And I guess that this might be my expectations, but I was kind of let down by this house. Like you said, the first half is great. It's really beautiful. It's aesthetically pleasing. The witches look amazing. I will say that. Like whoever, like the makeup work on the witches and the acting is really well done. My biggest issue, I had no idea what was going on in the second half at all. I was just lost.
Yeah.
And I listened to the podcast episode with like the backstory, and it out of all the episodes of the podcast that they dropped, this was the only one that I had to listen to twice because I still had no fucking clue what was going on.
Yeah.
I was just confused, and I'm like, why are they attacking humans? What are they using the humans for? Because then, like, why do they, if they're using the humans to make witch's brew, how come they had some of them tied up and some of them not? And then they had a butcher for no reason. I was just very confused by, like, everything.
Me too.
Like, I don't, like, the story itself just was not clear to me. Because at least, you know, with, like, Hellblock, sure, there isn't a story, but at least it's clear. It's like, hey, yeah, it's a giant prison break.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not much of a story, but at least you know what's happening.
Yeah.
With Witches of the Coven, there were points where I'm just like, why is there a dismembered head inside of a bathtub covered in ice? Like, sure, it's a cool visual, but like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Like, are they using it for something? Are they just there to provide shock value? I couldn't tell what was happening.
Yeah.
Like, that for me is the thing that killed me the most.
I agree.
Like, visual-wise, amazing. But I was just confused. Like, a lot.
Yeah.
And after a while, I'm not gonna lie, the whole thing with the witches got kind of old, because all they ever do is just pop out and then cackle, and then that's it.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
mean,
like,
they started changing it towards the end of the season, but
that's
I
what I
guess
heard.
but at this point, it's just like it's a change too late in the season. I guess it's a change too late.
Yeah. Because,
And
like,
a lot of
I
things
was
went
like,
for the event that changed later on, like super late in the event too.
like, I feel like they should have shown more of the witches turning the men or the humans into witches brew and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that way you can see, you're like, okay, they're taking the patrons and then they're turning them into this.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we should have seen more of the witches doing other things other than just popping out and cackling at you.
And doing a ritual without actually doing the witch's brew.
Yeah, like seeing them do witchy things like an actual ritual.
Yeah.
Or like mixing together the witch's brew, or you're like turning somebody into witch's brew, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that I think would have been more important. Because
5 out of 10
outside of that,
people.
I was just like, I'm just walking through these dark tunnels where people are popping out, laughing at me, and then hiding back again.
Yeah. 5 out of 10, dog.
Same here. As much as I hate to say it. And again, this is nothing against the actors. This is nothing against the people who put the work into the set design or anything. This just has to do with, like, the way it was set up and the way the story was told.
Yeah, I agree.
But we have left the speakeasy. We managed to escape those dastardly witches. And somehow we have ended up in Haddonfield, Illinois. On October 31st, 1978. The night he came home.
Yes. So
Good old Mikey Myers.
So we out here with the first IP, I think.
This is our first IP, yep.
With the IP, we have Mikey Myers. Basically, if you haven't watched the movie, we covered it a few episodes back.
Yep.
If you haven't, go back and listen to that.
And also watch the movie.
Also watch the movie. Hear our episode. Come back here. Anyway, so if you haven't watched the movie, Michael comes back. It's the retelling of 1972. It's a good fucking time. 78, my bad. 78. And it's a good time. So we literally walk into the first scene where young Michael Myers comes and commits the felony of killing his sister.
Yeah, that's just a felony. That's fine. He'll just get probation for that one.
Yeah, he felony or whatever. It is what it is.
It's not just it's
I
murder.
mean,
It's fine.
it's murder, but he still somehow got out. So technically, it was a felony.
Well, no, he escaped.
Still a felony because he never got punished for it.
Well, yeah, he
Anyways,
got sent to an asylum.
could be. It's better than a prison.
True, true.
Exactly.
But it's
So
still it's a felony is when you get, isn't it when you just get actually charged with it?
I don't know.
He still got charged with a felony.
I dropped out of forensic science.
They just pled it. He just pled insanity. That's all it was. That's why he got sent to the sanatorium.
He pled insanity even though he can't talk. All right.
Well, that's
Weird
exactly
flex,
what.
but
That's
okay, bro.
no. That's what exactly why they're like, yeah, this kid can't even talk. Look at him. There's no way he planned this out.
Fair. Anyways, so
Yeah.
we see kid Michael Myers kill his sister. Yay! And then we go into a really pitch black dark room.
Which I was not expecting it to go in that direction with like the title card in the top and then like Michael shows up to your right. You're like, oh shit, fucking Michael Myers already.
Great. So
That was
then
awesome.
it's like title card, and then it's great and whatever. So we go through the house and we see different little Michael Myers. Well, not Michael Myers. So I guess the entire, we have the patients in an asylum. Then we got a cop showing up to our right. Then we have like, different pop ups of Michael come up, and then there is the God fucking forsaken, scene where we go through the
Closet.
laundry area, and and not that I've gotten in trouble or anything, but
Oh, where you
but,
almost
like,
walk into a boo hole? Yeah, that was a big
yeah,
issue with that house. Multiple people told me about that, where they almost walked into a boo hole and they had to get escorted like back into the path.
yeah,
Which is weird. I did not have that issue at all. I knew exactly where I was going the entire time.
yeah. I don't know.
Um,
It was weird. Anyway, so basically, long story short, I had another friend with me the night that we were doing the whole Halloween house and whatnot, and we kept walking straight, but I somehow saw my friend go into like a really dark room, so I was like, okay, weird. So when I tried to go after him, Michael stopped me, and I was like, the fuck, and then I was like, all right, well, I'm just trying to go, and he's like, no, like he kind of pushes me back, obviously. Unfortunately, it had to kind of be abrupt. Like I don't think he meant that. Like
yeah, he didn't
he
do it
didn't
on
meant ill
purpose. Like,
will.
yeah,
He was like, bro, it's like that way. And
wrong
I'm like,
way.
oh, I'm sorry, like that kind of thing. So I backed out, and then my friend had already gone through the boo hole, and he actually went through another boo hole, and that Michael Myers was like, oh shit, like you're not supposed to be in here, but
What?
it's that way. So he's like, oh, okay, thank you. So he got escorted by Michael Myers to be back into our room. And I was like, bro, what? Like, how did you manage to be short enough to like get stopped, like just go through a boo hole and not might have one Michael Myers like notice you, but somehow managed to notice me? What? Like, either
I have
way,
no idea how that happens.
fucking wild. But it was like the laundry scene.
Mm.
But at the same time, they don't have like a security or a house person there, so I guess it kind of makes sense because the laundry still keeps going past that
Yeah.
area, like the fabric. But you just think keep going, but no, there's
Well, see,
actually
for me,
like
it's because like I immediately look to the left and I can see there's more of the house. I'm like, okay, I gotta go this way because I gotta go inside the house.
yeah. So
Now, like that for me is like why I didn't get confused because I was like, I think it's because like I already know. Okay, we're following the movie, so I already know what happens next, so I know where to go.
yeah,
But like that's essentially what it is. Is you're essentially walking through the original Halloween.
yeah,
There were some really good moments. Because it's not the first time they've done Halloween '78. They did it back in 2014 or 2015,
yeah,
somewhere around there. But it was back when it was on one of the sprung tents, so it was a little smaller. They didn't have as much space. I feel like they did a similar thing that they did with TCM last year, where they were just like, "We'll redo it, bigger space, more space for scares, like bigger scale, more sets," which is
yeah.
exactly what happened. You got to see little things a little bit more in detail. Um, there was one thing that I didn't notice until I think like the third time I walked through it. I was like, they completely took out the scene in the garage where Michael is hiding inside the car and Annie goes to like open the car.
Yeah.
That was completely taken out.
Oh damn.
I never even noticed that.
No, I didn't even notice it either. But I
But
guess.
they did add the scene of Michael escaping the sanatorium, which I appreciated. So I guess it's like a tit for tat thing because that wasn't the. I know that section was in, the scene with Annie was in the original house, and then they took it out but added the sanatorium scene for this one, so it's all good.
That makes sense.
Um, it was fun getting to like see all the different Michaels pop up because there were some that were hiding in really good places, like in
And
this
they were
section.
aggressive.
They were aggressive. They were extremely
Hmm.
aggressive, which I appreciated. Um, like the one section where you go, I think it's just after the sanatorium and you see like the big house in front of you and you go in through the laundry section. I was not
Yeah.
expecting a Michael to pop out on the window to the left. That was a
Yeah.
good scare. I guess I was like, okay, I know he's gonna be in the sheets. Oh shit, he's right here.
Yeah.
Like that was good. Um, and in terms of like capturing the essence of the movie, I think it did really well with like the music cues, and there were certain sections that I thought were really good. I think it was one of the sections where Laurie's like, "Oh, you gotta get out of here," like go upstairs or something like that, and in the background you hear Michael's breathing,
Oh
and I was
man.
like, "Oh shit, that's awesome! I love
Yeah, that
this."
was a really good detail.
Yeah. Not to mention the what I think is like one of the most effective scenes is like the closet scene because you literally have it's like you're inside the closet, so you have Michael on the left trying to break into the closet and Laurie on the right like pushing up, like trying to hurt Michael.
Yeah.
And that was really good. And also the scene at the end with the gunshots, and also the scene at the very end with the room of multiple Michael Myers, where some are mannequins, some are not.
Yeah.
That was good too. So overall, in terms of like
I
capturing,
definitely enjoyed this telling of Halloween rather than, I mean, I know that they were based off different movies in the past, but the fact that this house that actually feels so shittily put together, I really appreciated. And the fact that they stayed true to like the source material was
mm,
meant a lot as well.
yeah, it definitely captured the overall like style, feel, and like vibe of the original movie.
Yeah.
Um, there were a few things, and this might just be a personal thing for me. Like my last three runs of or no, my last two runs of Halloween were so different than the first couple of runs. There were sections that were just completely empty. Like there were no actors whatsoever,
Uh,
like at all. And it was just so shocking to me. And like that for me, it really hurt the house. Like obviously, it was like, oh, this is really pretty to look at, but there was no actors.
damn.
Like to the point where it was even like hurting, important scenes. Like I think it was my last run of Halloween. That section with Bob where he's like, like stabbed up against the wall and he's like hanging up from the wall. There was no Michael there,
Shit.
and I was like, what the fuck? This is supposed to be important. Like this is Michael's like iconic kill where he does a little head tilt thing, and there's no Michael here.
Damn.
Yeah. And I was like, oof, that like it really hurt the house in my opinion.
Shit.
And again, this is not, like they did it on purpose or anything. They were probably just like short staffed, which I get.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Um,
overall, I think this house gets
I give this one a 7.
a 7.5 for me. 7.5 out of 8. Out of
Mm-hmm.
not 8, not
Out of
wow.
10.
10 out of 10. Yes.
Yeah. Like I
Because
said, it heavily captures the feel of the movie. Like you definitely feel like you're in Halloween.
yeah.
That is like that's the biggest strength that it has. And when you do get the actors are really aggressive.
Oh yeah, for
But that's
sure.
the key word, when you get actors. I'm like, that shouldn't be a when.
Yeah. Makes sense. But either way, we had just left and survived the massacre of Michael Myers. If you're just apparently on his way home and you happen to be in the path, you just get killed off, kind of thing. But either way, we survived, and now
We're
we're
stressed
going
out. And we're
to
stressed out and we need a vacation.
we need a
And
vacation.
we're gonna go
So
to
we
this
gotta,
real nice little tropical island.
yeah, we are gonna go to a tropical island, but there's a festival going on, and when there's a
And this
festival,
shit ain't Coachella.
and then people don't speak your language, so but you try to compromise. It's a nice little neighborhood. when during the daytime, but when at nighttime it just happens to become a ritual. So we're talking about Fiesta de
Whoop,
Chupacabras,
whoop.
and this is a original that they made.
Yep.
One of the houses that I was genuinely excited about during this year, having to do with the Puerto Rican legend of the Chupacabra.
If you want to learn more, you can also check out our episode on the Chupacabra where we talk about the history and the the sightings of the Chupacabra and all that fun stuff. If you want to learn a little bit more about the lore of the Chupacabra, definitely check that out.
Exactly, and you just enjoy the island vibes, and you're at a festival, and you just happen to be a tourist, and the the
It just so
villagers happen
happens.
to have a very nice interest in you, and they're trying to I guess lure you into attending, and they're being extra nice to you, and then they start tying you up, and things like start to get freaky, but not in the way
Hey.
that you think it is. But either way, so then we have basically we have the mask maker that is the one selling you the mask of different of animals, but it's mostly of a dog slash lizard looking thing. So basically, chupacabra, the legend, the myth,
The man,
the
the myth,
god,
the man, the
the
myth, the legend.
the man, the myth, legend.
The
But
Choopy.
obviously not a man. The Choopy, the Choopy gang.
The
You will
Choop,
know
the
more
Choopy,
about
the
that
myth, the
reference if you
legend.
go back to our episode. But yeah, so you basically go to the town of, I guess you could say, Puerto Rico or
Old San
whatever
Juan.
other old San Juan, and it just looks like La Perla, and you're going to different marketplaces, and then you see the sighting of the chupacabra in different scenes, and you visit uh like meats and butchery areas. You see uh, the goats being gutted, pigs, you fucking name it, giant dogs,
You enter the
lizard
feeding ground.
things, basically feeding ground. And yeah, it's a good fucking time at the festival, don't you think?
Yeah, Fiesta de Chupacabras is one hell of a house.
And people are speaking at you in Spanish. I don't know if,
Yes, they are speaking at you in Spanish. Everybody in the house was bilingual, which I appreciated. I love that.
yeah,
Um, in terms of getting like the overall environment right, oh my god, they did such a good job.
I agree.
Like there were moments where I was like, I feel like I am back home,
I agree.
and I was like, that's impressive shit. They did a good job with it. Outside of like a few weird like Spanish grammar errors that were kind of noticeable.
Agreed.
And I'm like, it's fine. I don't care about that. It's I can overlook it because everything else is just so pretty. Obviously, I don't mean like pretty like, oh, I want to like like live in there. I mean like pretty as in like they brought it to life in a very nasty, violent way.
Yeah, I agree. It was just so, I don't know, like it just felt so, something felt homey, at least to us, about that
Yeah.
house. And, the fact that the actors were really great, the being able to have been told and get representation and legend in this light was definitely
Hmm.
appreciated. And the fact that we just kind of got like a good vibe, different representation of like clothes, but also like at the same time just the overall Hispanic vibe, like not just Puerto Rico. I guess they were trying to mix in other things so other things don't feel left out, but there was a good representation of all Hispanics there,
Hmm.
mostly Puerto Rico, but it you can definitely tell that they were trying not to leave other places that have seen sightings in the myth.
Yeah. And again too, like it also came to the actors and to the way they play with the environments because they definitely made you feel like as you were walking through the house that you weren't just like walking through these environments, but you were being like pushed through them. Like you were literally being like herded like lamb to the slaughter.
Yeah.
Like that it felt like that. Like it felt like you weren't just being like boom, here's a person. It almost felt like you were being like boom, here's a person to push you to this side because they want you to go here.
Yeah.
Like it
It was just
especially when
overall violent but great.
Yeah, especially in those little sections in between buildings, like when you would leave a building, have to walk through like these like really constricted back streets with like cages and like trash and like the choopy in the fucking corner. Like that
Yeah.
kind of stuff was so good.
The one scene I really liked the most was when you're trying to walk through past the butchery. Like there's like a bunch of cages that fall or pretend to fall at
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then there was like another wall, then there's like a chupacabra like coming at you. Like so you were almost like cornered for like a second.
Yeah,
It
for
just was
for me,
like
I always really liked that section where you're like in like kind of the bigger open area. Because
yeah.
I love the use of verticality because you can tell that you're like, oh, there's like buildings that are taller than you. They're above you. So that was really impressive, and then also everything just past that. So like walking like almost like underneath these buildings. It felt like.
Yeah.
So there's
Like
when there's like the really nasty looking toilet that the choopy comes out of.
yeah.
Um,
That was really
yeah,
fucking nasty, yeah.
and like that
And
little
you won't expect it because it's in a corner too.
yeah, because you're like making the corner. You're like, oh, there's a toilet. Here's a choopy. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
And the Chubbies too, like the design of the Chuppy, I know they didn't go for the traditional look of like half dog, half lizard, alien type creature.
Right.
They went more for like the mangy rabid dog mixed with like a saber toothed tiger type look to it. But it
Yeah.
was still really good. I still had a really nice look to it. It still looked really scary and like in your face. I honestly though would have preferred if they went for like the more traditional look. But this wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like they fucked it up or anything. Like, this was still pretty good.
Yeah, me too. I definitely enjoyed it, even though it was a different take. But
Yeah, but overall, I really enjoyed the vibe of like, yeah, you definitely felt like you were somewhere you were not supposed to be,
yeah.
and you were in an area where you had no place, like nowhere to get help because you were in a completely foreign area. Like that's what they nailed that vibe perfectly.
I
So
agree.
yeah, I will give this one a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10 for me too.
Yeah,
Because representation and I appreciated
we
it
love
so
you,
much.
Choopy Choop.
I love you, Chubby Choo.
Choopy,
Chubby.
Choopy. Oh my God, there's Choopy behind you. But somehow, by the skin of our teeth, we managed to get on a plane. We got back to the States. And we're like, okay, you know what? I need a vacation for my vacation. I'm gonna go to this fishing village, um, up in the Pacific Northeast or Atlantic Northeast. By the Cape Cod, Maine, that area. And boy, oh boy, where did we end up? At the Dead Man's Pier. We just seemed to get away from one mess and land right into another. And wow, Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake, possibly one of the most beautiful houses I've ever had the chance to walk through in all of Horror Nights.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely like very pretty. It's like a sailor's tale, a sailor's
It is
trackless
literally
tale.
like walking through a sailor's like a sailor like a sea shanty.
Yeah.
I and it was so interesting because this house, outside of the physical look of everything, the emotional look of everything too, because everything was like abandoned, snowed in, like everything was just like moldy and like
Cold, wet.
wet, cold, dark, depressing. And that really shone through, especially because you had the beautiful violin music the entire time.
Yeah.
Like the theming of this, I was not expecting them to go for this like really deep feeling of like sadness and melancholy. Because they
Yeah.
could have just gone for like, here's the fog, it's really intense, or it's just like a lot of sailor people everywhere. But this
Yeah,
one for
but
like
they
this one
took
for like
it farther in
tragic.
the storytelling, especially with
Yeah,
the
this
tragedy
you
and
felt
the
that.
sea. Yeah.
Especially when there were those like small calm moments where you like feel like you hear the sea and you smell the sea smell, like the sea salt.
Yeah.
Like it was so immersive, and I was like, this is just amazing. This is incredible. um Not to mention that scene, that one goddamn beautiful scene with the violin player.
Yeah, and
Oh
just
my
a really big
god.
bow, and then you see her at, almost Titanicing that thing, but not
Titan-
really.
Titanicing.
Titanicing that thing, like, you're like, oh, what a beautiful sight! I can fly. Anyway, no, something like that.
Just
But
like,
she's at the very edge of the bow, playing her violin, and then every so often she'll let out like a cry because it's almost like she's being tormented
mm-hmm.
to play this violin until all time. But it is definitely an emotional scene, and it's something that really like draws you and makes you in awe of the house in general. You
Not
can
to
definitely
mention the
tell that most of the budget of the event went to that house.
not to mention the use of space. Like the way they set everything up to give you this impressive sense of scale. Especially
Yeah,
after you walk through all these like smaller, kind of constricted buildings, to all of a sudden slowly get you opening up to it, because the scene that precedes it is you literally walking on like this little pier between a wall and a ship next to you,
yeah,
and you're like, oh shit, that's just a legit like pirate ship, or like a sailor ship, and there's a guy
yeah,
walking the plank above you. So I'm like, oh shit,
yeah.
that's really fucking impressive. But it isn't, when you make that other turn, you're like, oh my god, this is incredible.
Yeah,
And they continue to use that space, because you also have that one scene where you're inside the boathouse and you have like the one guy drowned on the boat, and then you have the two, zombie sailors coming at you.
yeah,
And not to mention the bungee sailor at the end too.
yeah. He was very enthusiastic most of the
Yeah.
run, so like you can
And it
definitely
was
see that.
it had a good amount of scares. Like this house was it got me a good number of times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
agree. I think so too. There's just like a lot of like beautiful scenes. Also, like, I just mostly felt like, wow, I'm walking through a movie almost.
almost. Yeah, that's what it
Um,
felt. It felt the most immersive, I think,
I
with both the
agree.
music and then the set design and the sound design. Everything was just like
Temperature design.
temperature design, smell design. Like it would just fit.
I agree.
Like wow.
Mhm.
um. So yeah, there's no house I'm giving a perfect score this year, but that is like as close as it gets. That one gets a 9.5 from me.
9.8 for me.
Oh shit,
We out here.
we out here. So we made it outside of that fishing village. We were like, okay, you know what? I think I'm just gonna head on home. I got my high school reunion coming up. Let me go check on these high schoolers, see how they're doing.
Stop. That's horrible. Anyway. So we're
Horrors of
gonna be
Blumhouse.
watching what?
Horrors of Blumhouse.
Horrors of Blumhouse, yes. So we decided to pop in two kind of recent movies that Blumhouse has dropped, and we're just gonna watch two movies. So the first one is Freaky. We kind of
Freaky,
go
freaky.
through the movie of Freaky, where
Well,
we go into the
well, the
rituals.
first thing we do, the absolute first
Oh,
thing we
I
do,
fucking hate you.
is
I
we have to
swear.
walk through a garage. It's all about family. We got a giant sign that says "Family
Uh,
Forever"
I hate this.
before we walk into somebody else's really nice house and see some people get killed.
Yes. Anyway, yes, family, and then anyway, um, we hate Fast and the Furious in this house. Anyway,
Remember, it's all for family. I'm an
I'm
orphan.
an orphan. Oh God. So basically, we go through Freaky. We see the transformation or the ritual that puts the killer and this high school girl together. So we have now a serial killer high schooler versus a male high schooler trying to get back into their body. But we see basically through Freaky, you just see like the different killings that happen in the movie. Like basically the guy getting sawed in half, the girl with the girl has a hook for a hand, that kind of thing. But honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you a lot about that movie because I watched it only once. And yeah, so I guess it's just
Um,
this.
Yeah, I would say Freaky is good. It's cute. It was fun. I had fun walking
Freaky
through it.
Friday, but a horror comedy.
Yeah. But I mean like the actual experience of walking through the house. It was like
Yeah,
fun. Like I wasn't really scared, but I was having fun.
yeah,
Except for that one fucking hobo.
yeah.
That
That
hobo
was.
comes out of nowhere.
I was like, why are you okay? Well,
Cuz I know he shows up in the movie cuz it's like that little section when you're inside the killer's like warehouse home thingy
right.
and a homeless man just pops up next to you and you're like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah,
That one did get me a few times, which is funny. But yeah, so Freaky was fun because it had like the really, kind of like the bouncing soundtrack like near the end of like the like the high school party and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, okay, I'm in a good mood. I made it through Freaky. That was fun. And then you get into the depressing, somber, dark, gritty mess that is the Black Phone.
yeah.
Where immediately you
So
walk in and all you see are like posters of missing kids and like the news reporting in the background. You're like, oh fuck, what the hell is this?
yeah, so we just went from happy to oh, what the fuck is this?
You want
So
to see a
it's like
magic trick?
yeah. So if you guys haven't also seen our episode where we cover the Black Phone,
Check it
check
out.
that out. And also, yeah, so we walk through the Black Phone. We see the grabber and his most iconic scenes from the van to the balloons to the spray can to very surprisingly a lot of the basement scenes, which take up most of the houses. And honestly, this house felt a lot longer, but they use a lot of basement space but still manage to make enough room for us to be able to explore this house where it didn't feel too short. We have the grabber coming in saying it just doesn't work. We see the phone in different
The
hallways,
fucking ghost kids.
the ghost
Those ghost
kids.
kids scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, they I think they scared
Like
me the most.
especially like the first ghost kid that shows up, like the
Yeah,
rocker ghost kid. Oh my god!
yeah,
And this is something that we were talking about too. I think when we were talking about the movie, and then we kind of talked a little bit about the house, how there are some of the what's the word I'm looking for, like the triggers, the scare triggers that don't have a whole lot of sound. It's just like lights and like a scream, and that's it. But they don't have like a huge like musical sting or anything.
yeah,
Where it was just like really quiet except for that, and I was like, that is just so effective.
yeah, and it makes him more eerie as
Mm-hmm.
well. And then, we just keep going to the house and
And
we
then
see
there's
the
the
grabber some more and
fucking
we see
black
him in a
hallway.
different stage. We also see him waiting upstairs. So, and then we also see, the dead kid on the bed. Then we see, yeah, it's just all sorts of more dead kids.
Yeah. Not to
And
mention
then
the black hallway with
the black
nothing but darkness
hallway
and
with the
Pink Floyd
drop
in the
panels.
background.
Yeah, and the drop panels.
And the fucking drop panels. Oh my god. The moment I saw that hallway for the first time, I was like, oh no. Like my first reaction was just, oh no, this is how it ends. This is it. I'm just gonna let the grabber take me at this point because I'm done. There's no
Exactly.
coming back from this one.
Yeah.
Um, and I saw this. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but you know that one scene where the grabber's like sitting down and he's supposed to be asleep.
Yeah.
You know how it was mannequin, right?
Yeah.
In like the last couple of days, they switched him out for a real person.
Oh
I'm
no.
like, I wanted to see that so bad.
Damn, I
I
would
wish I
not.
could have been there for that when he just. I cannot imagine you're like walking past us and he just gets up. I'm like, oh hell no, oh hell no, I'm done. This is it.
Yeah, exactly.
Grabber can grab me.
I was like, yeah, I'm done fighting. I'm done struggling.
I ain't struggling no more, baby. I'm done. But yeah, like this was. It's interesting because this house was like half and half. Like Freaky was fun, it was good. I didn't love it. Black Phone, I was genuinely scared.
Yeah,
Like
me
like
too.
80% of the time in that house, I was scared.
Yeah.
The other 20%, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. It's just like the movie. Followed immediately by holy shit.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Blumhouse it was for Black Phone it was very accurate. I feel like that the Black Phone part was a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
Freaky felt a little bit slapped together, but it's fun for
It
the
was still
most
fun to
part.
walk through, yeah.
I just wish, I don't know. I feel like for Freaky, either could have had more parts or just being dropped altogether and just
And
had a
just
black phone
focus on Black
house.
Phone, yeah.
But
But yeah,
that's where it felt like the focus was mainly at. But
yeah.
it was an attempt. It's kind of like
Overall,
the Blumhouse house that they had Sinister, and Sinister only had like
two rooms.
Sinister 2 had like 2 rooms. That's it.
Yeah. Overall, though, this is definitely the best version of Horrors of Blumhouse we've ever got. We've had though.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because of Black Phone. Because Freaky honestly felt like the other stuff that we had already seen before in Horrors of Blumhouse, like with something like Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
It felt very similar to that. It was much more of a fun house than like a scary house.
Yeah.
But Black Phone was like, no, hold my phone. I got this.
Agreed.
Yeah. So this one, I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10.
7 out of 10 for me, but 7 the take is mostly from Black Phone. So.
Yeah. The majority of the praise is going towards Black Phone. Again, nothing against Freaky, nothing against the actors. It was just like you said, it was a little short. It felt a little rushed, but Black Phone made up for it and made Blumhouse like it made the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're done with our movie marathon, and now we're back to past Nightmare Fuel again. If you wanted to stop by and watch that again.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna go to the very bipolar line that it is, and we get kind of bit up by mosquitoes and other creepy crawly creatures, and then somehow they manage to magnify by like 1,000, and they just become giant, and we just happen to be transported back to the 50s where they're trying to sell us an ad about exterminating
Exterminator.
and especially for a convention, but yeah, and then things go terribly wrong. And
I was over here like, it's a great big beautiful tomorrow.
So yeah, and then it just goes to hell from there. Guys. I can only tell you 2 of the rooms. Don't ask me about the rest of the house. I didn't see it. I will tell you the first 2 rooms. There is a woman being presenting the exterminator all happy and shit. Things go to hell, she screams, lights go out, and scene. And then we go through the different houses. There are bugs everywhere, and they're really gross and shit. And then there's somebody's yelling for dear life. There's a security guard that pops out to my left. Yeah. I look right, and I immediately want to throw up. So don't ask me about the rest of the house. Wouldn't be able to tell you. I think I only peeked up one time where I saw like a giant grasshopper roach thing, and that's it. Don't ask about the rest of it. Like, I can't tell you. I didn't see
it. I did see it. I saw the whole thing. I was perfectly fine, surprisingly. I really fucking love this house. I love the vibe of like the whole 50s House of the Future thing. I'm a sucker for that type of aesthetic of like the retro futuristic vibe. I like the theming of like, oh yeah, it's we're showing you the great technology that we have available, and it all goes horribly wrong. It's very much up my alley with the whole like 50s schlock sci-fi B movie type thing. It reminded me of It's Tough to Be a Bug.
Yeah.
I was luckily not as triggered as some other people were, because I know there were some people that were like, I can't deal with the spiders. Some people, such as Vania, were like, I can't deal with the trypophobia. I was surprised by how well I was doing. I was like, how am I not on this floor in a fetal position right now?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I only saw like 2-3 rooms. I saw the first lady with holes on her face, and I just about fucking lost it. Like,
you fucking lost it.
So I was like, yeah, I left that house wanting to throw up because I was like, yeah, I can't. Like, I need Coke. I need something to get my blood pressure up because I feel like I'm about to pass out. Like,
Jeez.
it was bad. It was really fucking bad. I mean, I like the cheesiness. I could understand and get behind. I was like, oh, cute. This kind of like slaughter cinema. But then, like, when you get to the really gross and grotesque stuff, that's when, like,
Yeah,
yeah, I was like,
this
yeah,
is
I'm gonna tap out. That's it.
yeah, this is definitely something that would have been at the Slaughter Cinema Drive-In. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely would have been on there. And I think my only big gripe with it is I wish it had more bugs, like more bug actors in it, or like bug animatronics.
Yeah.
Because there weren't a whole lot. A lot of it was mostly like humans that were being affected by the bugs.
Yeah.
Like there were a few bugs here and there, like Jumbo Grub. We love you, Jumbo Grub.
Yeah.
But I feel like they could. I just wanted more of that. Like I was like, oh, I was kind of hoping we would see something similar to like the Choopy puppet, but with like a spider or with like a giant, like a giant roach or something like that.
Yeah.
But the overall like vibe of it was so much fun, and the creature design was really good. The giant bugs were really cool. So I enjoyed it. It's hard
a
to say if
3
it's
out
a
of 10 for
favorite.
me, dog.
It's a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, the 3 out
For
of 10 for
me,
me, dog.
it's I wouldn't say it was like the scariest house, but it was one of the ones that I had the most fun in. But I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Well, this is my lowest ranking because first of all, I didn't see it, and third of all, I only give it a 3 because it's 3 rooms. 3 rooms, and the first part was kind of cute, I guess. Then it went to shit, and I was like, I'm not having a good time. It's a 3. It's a 3 star for me on Yelp, dog.
3 star. Oh my
I,
god.
I never want to step in this drive-in ever again.
But after we left the house of the future of the 50s, apparently things went from bad to worse. We were like, okay, let's just get on the subway. Shit, we got on the wrong subway. Now we're in the wrong part of New York City.
Yeah. But we
now,
somehow managed to be in a familiar vicinity.
We were like,
and
oh
that
shit,
did
we've entered the Mad Max section of New York.
Yeah, but it's a familiar face. It's a familiar face. So we are here in Descendants of Destruction, which is a house.
I
Which is
had no
basic.
idea was a sequel to Seeds of Extinction.
Yes, it's a Seeds of Extinction sequel where radiation has taken over the earth, and there are living
Yes.
plants and mutants and things mutating together, and then now everything's dying and people have to survive for themselves, and now we have Mad Max.
This house was this house was like, in terms of the environments, it was so cool.
I agree.
Like walking through the abandoned subway tunnels, then the actual subway. Again, for a sprung tent, they use a verticality was really impressive. Like those scenes where you have like the giant subway that's like crashed in almost like towards you.
Yeah.
That was really good. It definitely felt very much Mad Max meets Metro 2033, which is like a post-apocalyptic game set in train stations. So it definitely gave off that vibe. The savagery of the people was really cool to watch, especially like the kitchen scene with like the guy that's just like straight up grilling meat on barrels, and you can tell it's human meat.
Yeah, and then you also like have like even them mocking you and trying to like grab you and stuff like that, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like trying to have a grand old time, trying to torture you before they try to get you to grub. Then there's plants trying to come at you. Then there's a lot of survival looking things around. So it's a good fucking time. It's just an overall apocalyptic survival house.
I think one of the best things about it was the boo holes, because the boo holes were really well hidden. Like some of them were, especially once you get to like the second half of the house, when you get to like the glow in the dark sections, like the black light areas.
Yeah.
Those actors were really well hidden, because there are some that I didn't even notice until they were like right in my face.
Damn, really?
Because of like the way the masks were set up, they were kind of camouflaged with like the environment, like the rocky parts of the environment, because you couldn't tell them apart sometimes. So like these motherfuckers were like doing a hell of a job hiding. And like I said, I like the environment. I really like the whole subway vibe of it. I the second half was fun. Environment wise, I like the first half better.
You
With like
think
the
so?
because I like the whole of like a whole seeing society crumbling type thing. I don't know why I prefer to see that instead of just like here's underground with black lights everywhere.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, I'm not saying that was bad because it was not bad. It was really impressive. I just felt like it could have been a little better.
I agree. I mean, like, I didn't hate it. I have a thing for like Mad Max stuff. So this just felt like, oh, this is like my aesthetic. Hi, I love it. Like, survival apocalypse thing. But at the same time, I also really much hated Seeds of Extinction. But this house didn't read a lot of Seeds of Extinction enough. I guess it just felt more Mad Maxy more than
No,
anything.
you really saw Seeds of Extinction in the first couple of rooms where you saw the guy dressed up in the ghillie suit, and then you see the skeleton that's like wrapped in vines. I'm like, okay, that's what tells me that's a Seeds sequel.
Yeah, but then I don't know. Like then after that, it just became like survival, the house. But I liked it
Yeah,
still. I enjoyed it very much, and the fact that we just got to. I it's like you. I very much enjoyed the subway scenes and the fact that there's like the illusion that it just goes on forever when it's just really a mirror
yeah,
that they use to enhance that. But I thought it was really cool. I think for the Sentence of Destruction, I only experienced it twice, but still, I'll give it, I guess, a 5 out of 10. It was fun. It was just fun. It was a fun house.
I give it a 6 on this one because like I said, there was still some things that I was just like, this could have been a little bit better, like theming wise. But overall, I enjoyed it. It was fun to walk through. The
Yeah,
facade was great. I love the facade.
me too.
It was a really nicely well made facade. I loved it. Um, but moving on, we escaped those subway tunnels. We made
And
it
we
through.
managed to find civilization
We
somewhere. Then we
found we
go
came back to
drink.
civilization, and then we just you know how we decided to celebrate. We just had to go see our friend Abel. Like we know what
Yeah,
Abel, let's go celebrate. Let's have some fun. Let's play some music. Let's get dressed up. Let's go to the club. Let's relax. Let's
yeah.
have a good time. And
Little did we know we were gonna get roofied, and we went to a
we
whole other nightmare.
we did not feel that coming.
Yeah, we did not feel it coming. And he told us to save our tears for another day.
And I did not save any of those tears. I was crying. We are, of course, talking about the Weekend After Hours Nightmare. The biggest surprise of the year for me, honestly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was not expecting this house to be as intense and as scary as it was. Because I was like, oh, it's going to be similar to the Alice Cooper house, where it's going to be like, oh, it's going to tie into his music videos, it's going to have like a really fucking awesome soundtrack, and that's going to be about it. I was not expecting the fever dream that was After Hours Nightmare, and I fucking loved it. I
I
loved
agree.
it.
It was a comfort house for me.
It was like
Yeah, I was like,
even
you know what wouldn't go
though
wrong right now? The weekend.
even though I was being scared left and right at certain points, I was still vibing. I'm over here like save your tears the entire time, and then I'm like, all right, next song, okay, we're just going through a playlist now,
Yeah.
and I was just, oh my god, I love this house so
Even though
much.
like it was mostly 3 songs, but still like
I
you
do
couldn't have
not
a
give a shit. I
jam
had so
throughout
much
the
fun.
entire house
Like
and
just like
you
the
know,
vibe of it. It was like it was dark, it was dangerous, but it was sexy at the same time.
yeah.
It
I
was
mean there were like some
twisted.
surgery nurses. We just saw mutated Abel. We see
We saw
Lizard Abel. We see Michael
Lizard
Jackson
Abel.
Abel. We see we see
the
all sorts
that's
of
thing that little room with like the bus scared me too. With like the bus that like honks at you and like comes towards you a
yeah.
little bit. I was like, oh shit, what the fuck?
Yeah. That
That
always seems to like get me in a way,
and
but
there was I think it was the room or like the sections after the mirror room for blinding lights where like you had people camouflaged into the walls because they were like wearing like bodysuits to match into the walls.
yeah.
That shit was terrifying. Those got me every single time because they would switch them around because I would forget where they were.
Yeah.
Those were really good. Like it was. I was like, I'm able. If this is your mind, we need to have a little chat, buddy. We need to find you a therapist because you're going through some shit, and I want to help you out. I can fix it.
I can fix him. Daddy, I can fix you.
But no, this house was great. Like the overall vibe was great. The music was amazing. Like just like the style. The thing was just like oozing in style.
Yeah, and especially you go to the iconic blinding lights
Yeah.
mirror
I was
scene, so
I was
everybody
like
got to live
I
their
feel
best
like
Super Bowl moment, I
I'm over here
guess.
like I feel like I'm at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And shout out
I
to
say that
Abel,
and
who
then
was
I
also
got
one of the
which
blinding
is
lights
which is
Abel.
hilarious because I say that and then I get joned by Lizard Abel
Yeah, oh my gosh. Every single time.
every single fucking time. But like yeah, this house was just like not only was it scary, it was just fun. It was pure fun.
Yeah, and the best thing, I mean, other than the house was great. Don't get me wrong, I loved it, and it was like a comfort house because it was just like a vibe, and it was the one house I didn't really need earplugs, but like, it's just the queue. The queue was always such a fucking party, and everybody just vibes, and it's always a good time, and nobody, to my knowledge, broke out into a fight, so that was always so good.
Yay.
So yeah,
But yeah, no, like this one's an 8.5 out of 10 for me.
this was an eight. What an eight. Yeah, 8 out of 10. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
it was a comfort
this was
house
great. This
for
is
sure.
a beautiful house. I loved it. Like I just wish I could experience it at least one more time.
Yeah,
I
me
really
too.
wish I
It
could.
just, the lines got stupid long
They really
after
did.
a while, though. Like, it's just sad. I was like, oh
Yeah,
fuck. Well,
but it was
if
great. It
you're
was
lucky,
amazing.
you can catch it at 30 minutes. But the music there makes it go by really fast.
Oh yeah, the entire time we're just vibing.
Yeah.
Like the queue line for After Hours Nightmare is just nothing but vibes. That's all it is. But we saw our friend Abel. We vibed. We listened to some chill music. We saw him have a fever dream. We saw him go on an LSD trip, and we were
Yeah.
like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna, I'm gonna finish this off. We're gonna go on one last trip. We're gonna go to Egypt. We're gonna catch up. We're gonna stock up on toilet paper. We're gonna get some garlic, and we're gonna try and adopt a dog.
We're just gonna go with the sato.
With the
We're gonna
sato.
with the sato.
And of course, we're talking about Universal Monsters Legends Collide.
Yeah, we are because this house
It was a
well,
fucking
this
masterpiece.
I mean, it was a masterpiece, don't get me wrong, but the best way I can summarize this house is Mummy is like, no, Dracula's like, I'm just trying to be a ruler. I'm just trying to take over all these bitches.
Mm.
The Wolfman's like, I'm just trying to be human again. And the Mummy's like, what the fuck are y'all doing in my house? Like, that's literally the end of my
Y'all
house.
burst up into my pyramid and are just trying to steal my jewelry right now? Are you fucking kidding me?
It's like, y'all, I'm just trying to sleep.
I'm just trying to fucking sleep, yo. The fuck?
Yeah.
I
They
swear,
couldn't
he's like, I swear to Anubis, y'all.
sort of fucking Anubis. What are you doing in my house? I want
What are
waffle
you doing
fries.
in my house? No, oh my god, you know what this was? Have you seen those
What?
TikToks of like somebody saying Alexa intruder alert and it like Alexa's like the lights turn red and she starts playing like Fortunate Son?
Yeah,
That's what this feels like.
exactly.
Like legit like the other like the followers of Emotep were like Alexa intruder alert, let's wake up Emotep.
Yeah, jeez.
Oh man, but because what I was just like the overall story is there's the amulet of Ra that is currently in possession of Emotep, and all three of these monsters are fighting for it for very different reasons. Emotep is literally like, this is my property, like this is my shit, don't take my shit. Dracula's like, I'm gonna take over the world. And the Wolfman is like, I need this to cure myself because I don't want to be a werewolf. And he's the only normal person that's like trying to use it for the right thing.
Exactly.
And it's literally a fight to the death between these three. for a red, like the amulet of Ra, and it's amazing because I felt like there was like an even split of all three, and I loved the environments because I was not expecting them to go full ancient Egypt on it. I literally thought they were just gonna be like, here's like sections of the Wolfman area, here's like sections of Dracula, and here's sections of the Mummy, kind of like what they did with like Universal Monsters back in 2018.
Yeah, they just put them all together in one room.
Yeah, I was not expecting it to be Toilet Paper Man has the home court advantage.
Yeah.
And it was freaking great.
Yeah,
Especially, I love the use of mirrors. Because there was a good amount of times where they used mirrors to like make you think he was like one of the monsters was one place, and then he ended up like on the other side.
Another, yeah.
And that was great.
The thing is, like, this house was read up as weak in the beginning because there just was too many mummies or too many Wolfmans, not enough Dracula.
No.
Then there was too many mummies, too less of both, too many Wolfmans, two mummies, and no Dracula. Like, it was like, there was no balance of.
I was just there for the vibe, man. I was just there to fight, especially that triple scare at the end.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't always a triple scare, but like towards the end of the season, they seemed to have finished up their casting, and then it was like more of a full house.
I feel like it was a more consistent triple scare because you either you had to get really lucky in the first couple of weeks to get it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get it until like my third run of Legends.
Yeah.
And but it was great when I finally got it. I was like, this is the best thing ever. And it was similar to Icons, where you wanted to go again and again because you wanted your monster to win.
Yeah.
And oh my god, the screaming I did when I finally got Toilet Paper Man as my winner.
I only got it once.
Wasn't that the same night? Wasn't that the same night that we went?
Got a Wolfman.
When didn't we get the Mummy when we went?
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, we started cheering, and he even clapped with us because you were like, "Thank you guys." It's like, yeah.
I just think it's funny how normal they acted. They're like, yeah, like woo. I was like, damn, okay. Like we act normal apparently when we win stuff. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I know. I was happy that I got all 3 monsters.
They're like, scare. Yeah. Like, okay.
It would have been even funnier if they had like a little like winners podium, so you had like first place, second place, and third place, and the other like Dracula and Wolfman or whoever like got second and third are just like sitting there all like sad looking, like, man, I should have won.
Yeah, or like their heads are just on the second and third and whatever. Like in the podium, the first is like, yeah, I've got you bitches, and then the heads are like,
he got us.
But yeah,
it was fun. It had some
improvement. Like it always, every time you went through, it always had some kind of improvement.
Yeah,
I just wish I went
there were moments where I was genuinely getting scared.
Yeah,
because like some of those boo holes were like pretty well hidden, and if they weren't well hidden, they had double boo holes, so they had like one side and then they could get you from the other side, and I was like, oh shit, they got me again.
Oh yeah,
they came after me. So that I loved Legends Collide. That one I give a 9 out of 10.
For me, it's I guess it's an 8 out of 10. I mean, it was a solid house regardless. I just wish I went through it more and appreciated it more, but it was always like so long, or I was always on the other side of the house. The house that I think I abused a lot unintentionally was Spirits of the Coven, because it was like the less of a line. Or like, and then Chupacabra and Dead Man's Pier. I loved Dead Man's Pier a little too much. Like,
oh, I was in love with Dead Man's Pier.
Yeah.
But when I tell you that my jaw dropped when I first saw that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's my reason for my score for Collide. But it was still solid, and also congratulations to Legends Collide for House of the Year.
Very well deserved as well. Very well deserved house. It definitely earned House of the Year.
For sure.
But we made it. We have survived all 10 houses of Halloween Horror Nights, all 5 scare zones, and all 2 shows. Yeah. We have made it out. We have survived with all of our limbs. We've kept our blinky cups. We are safe. But now comes
go home because my legs hurt.
But now comes the real terror. The motherfucking teens. Oh my god, the teens at Horror Nights were so bad this year.
They were so bad this year.
I think I told you about this, or I think you might have seen me. You might have seen my tweet where I had to tell security about some of these kids because, like, at one point they were like legit like bullying this poor person, disabled person in a wheelchair. Like these kids were out of control and they were running around. They were like knocking into shit. They were like fucking around with the scare actors. Like they were just like being so disrespectful.
Yeah, I think it's not just Horror Nights. I think just haunts in general. I was a scare actor. This year the teens are so horrible. They think that they can scare the scare actors back and think that they're being clever by doing it. First of all, like you're not funny. That's just at the same time you can get hurt because if I pop off at the wrong time and I hit you with the door, that's on you.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they will take their side because they're like they're a minor, and I'm like, well, they shouldn't be in places they weren't meant to be, and also the fact that they were just I don't know so out of control. They couldn't. I don't know. It's just it's so hard to describe.
Yeah.
There's no words to describe the frustration there was with the teens at Horror Nights this year because it's just the one way they can get around that one past 11 p.m. rule and whatnot, and it sucks because Horror Nights never used to be an age restricted event, but I don't know if it's the weekend that brought them all out, or if
I have
it's
no idea.
or if it's like the one way that they can get around the 11 p.m. rule. But Universal needs to do something, and especially everything that has to do with the capacity at Universal. Like, I feel like they're not measuring enough or they're overselling tickets and they don't even realize that they're at capacity.
Yeah,
and not only do the deans not make it enjoyable because they're just being dumb and they think that, they're overcrowding or they're just doing like that standing TikTok that they're doing nowadays, that now security is getting involved. Like, it was just a lot. And honestly, I mean, if you're a teen, I'm sure you're not like this, but it's just a lot of teens that don't know how to behave themselves, and they just make the event not that fun.
And like this year was just like particularly rough though, because like last year obviously there's teens every year that act up and everything, but like this year specifically was just like really bad.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it was maybe also like short staffing with like security that like just wasn't able to oversee them as much as they should have. But like some of these kids were just like.
It also shouldn't be like a babysitting service.
No, and I'm not saying. I'm just saying like maybe there wasn't enough security to begin with.
Right.
Because a lot of times they were just like literally like going haywire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've been going to Horror Nights since I was 13. Maybe I acted shitty sometimes, but I don't remember acting like this bad.
During an event, especially at a theme park.
Because I remember, like, when I first started going, I would get scared and my stupid ass would run. Yeah. But, like, I would just, it was just, like, to get through a scare zone. That was it. But, like, Jesus.
They always try to,
like I never, I never gave anybody any attitude. Relax. I never gave anybody attitude like that. I never went out of my way to like, bully other people.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is going on this year with that? Like, I don't know what it was, but
Panini brain.
Hopefully things improve a little bit better next year with either security or like controlling the number of people in the park, because it was bad this year.
Very bad.
I think that was like what really like fucked up the event for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. And also the amount of the capacity, not just teens, just a lot of drunk people, a lot of stupid people.
I personally didn't even notice a whole lot of that. I mostly noticed like
I saw a lot of drunk people at nights, and also like just adults being stupid, dumb, and also trying to act up against the scare actors. Like, you're not even scary. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, those people were also annoying. Like, come on, like. You're paying an exorbitant amount of money to be there, and you're really just gonna act like that? Like, you're gonna act so entitled and douchey and that kind of stuff? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
hopefully things improve with these next couple of years. I mean, we already know one thing we're getting next year, and I'm already super excited. We're getting everybody's favorite play doll.
Hi, I'm Jackie. Wanna play? Heidi ho.
A little rusty, but
Chucky is coming back, and I'm so excited for that.
It's a part of the sci-fi series that they have.
Yep.
Well, sci-fi series, that is Chucky. So, there have 2 seasons out. I haven't watched it, but I'm gonna have to watch it now. So I have to do homework.
You have
So
homework to
fun
do.
time, homework to do, and then other than that, I think we should go into the overall thoughts of the event. I guess.
I mean, overall for the event, I had a lot of fun. I think this was one of the years where I went the most times. Funny enough, there were times where I wasn't even there for Horror Nights. I was there more for the Horror Nights vibe more than anything. Like there were days where I was like, I only did like 1 or 2 houses, and then I just kind of just chilled around the park and just like enjoy the scare zones, and like I felt like I gave myself the time, which I barely ever do in previous years. Like I gave myself the time to really like walk around and enjoy the scare zones and enjoy the event more than just like going there exclusively to do houses.
Yeah.
And it was sad that I didn't really get to meet up with more people than I wanted to. Hopefully that gets rectified next year because I definitely want to hang out with more people again. It was fun. But I mean, overall, I still had a good time at the event. If I had to give it a score, I would probably have to give the whole event as a whole probably a 7 out of 10. Not a bad score. It's just like I'm not just ranking it on houses and scare zones. I'm ranking it on how much fun did I have at the event. And part of that was taken away because of the whole issue with the teenagers and certain runs of houses that were just completely empty and that kind of stuff. Like stuff that could have been improved upon.
All right. For me, I kind of have a list, but I'll keep it short. Halloween Horror Nights 31. Basically, I enjoyed the traditional vibe. I did. It definitely made me feel very Halloweeny.
Yes,
But I feel
definitely.
like it went and been conveyed differently and not as I expected it to be. It did feel very Halloweeny, very cute, very, tradition, like, pumpkins, orange, red, black everywhere.
Purple.
Black. And like it's just great pumpkins and shit and little boo and stuff. But
Definitely felt very fall.
very fall, and the merchandise amazing. But honestly, like I didn't fully fall in love with the merchandise because it's not something that you can really wear all year round. I mean, if you like Halloween Horror Nights, or like there's like different house and IP designs and stuff like that. But that's besides the point. But like this is like the type of merchandise that you can only wear like close in the fall season when it's like in like close to Halloween and then like in Halloween and then after that you can't wear it because then you at that point you just look like a dumbass. But like I mean nothing wrong with that because Halloween is every day for me, but then right now I'm in Christmas mode. But that's besides the point. But I guess with Halloween Horror Nights 31, I guess it just didn't feel I don't know, scary. It didn't feel as memorable. I mean, there were really good houses and stuff, but I felt like half the night when I would go through like Weekend, Dead Man's Pier, maybe Choopy and Horrors of Blumhouse, I would forget that there's 10 houses. I'm like, oh, it feels like there's less houses. But then you kind of forget to count. And I'm like, yeah, there is just 10 houses. I guess I just kind of forget some of them because they're just not as memorable and that kind of thing. I don't know. This HHN, even though it was like, just full of like Halloween and stuff, it just wasn't memorable. And it's kind of sad for me to say that. I think for me, I'm gonna have to give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah. And then like the soundtrack was like I know that we're supposed to feel like a festival party kind of thing, like but it just was like obnoxious and I wasn't kind of feeling it. I was just like, oh well.
So I know I'm probably in the minority. I really enjoy the soundtrack because it's music that I personally listen to. So I love psychobilly music. I will say they should have made a longer playlist because the music
It just got
repeated a
repetitive.
hell of a lot.
I
Like
was
there
like,
were
oh man.
to the point where even I was like, okay, I've had enough of the Coffin Cats and I've had enough of the Arkhams. I need something else.
Yeah.
But like overall, the music is I enjoyed it because again, it's just it happens to be a genre of music that I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely see how some people were annoyed by it because it was all just psychobilly. There was like no variations in the music,
Yeah.
and it got really repetitive really fast. So I can understand that.
And it was a really nice escape when you would go to Sweet Revenge because I feel like Sweet Revenge had the longer
Yeah.
playlist.
Sweet Revenge had like,
uh,
and it was just different because it wasn't psychobilly. It was like any other type of music would have been a godsend. I think that's also why people vibe so much with The Weeknd, because obviously The
Yeah.
Weeknd's music is incredible, but like it was also a great way to take a break from all the psychobilly.
Yeah. So like it was just not greatly tolerable when you're in Spirits of the Coven or in line for Hellblock or in line for just even Ghoulish where you're just hearing the psychobilly music and you're just like, oh god, make it stop. I mean, like this year, like I said, just with HHN, just didn't feel. I wanted to love it so bad. I mean, because I was like, I'm all for the Halloweeny fall vibes, but something fell off and it just didn't feel memorable. I think they went about the Halloween traditions the wrong way. I guess I don't know. I wish there were just redeeming features other than like Sweet Revenge was definitely memorable. Deadly Unrest, I wish I enjoyed more. Uh, you know, just I really enjoyed other houses that just
Yeah.
wasn't Help Block or Spirits of the Coven. I just wish I didn't go through those as much as I did too. But you know,
Yeah, I see what you mean though. Yeah. I think something that also really hurt it was the fact that they're still not at 100% of their normal budget either. So you
yeah.
could
But
tell there was a lot of corners
the
cut.
price were ridiculous. They
Well, because
inflated
they
the
still
bid this
yeah,
year.
because they still have to try and make up some of the money they lost during COVID too.
Yeah, but that was just a little too much for me. I was
And
like, oh
I completely get it.
yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man. Especially for the express passes. I'm like, why are we jacking it up another 50%? Like, please stop. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. But I think that's really all we have to say about the event. This episode is like a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys
It's
don't want to go
whatever.
down memory lane
Y'all
and take
just
it
sit
again, but
through
here we
it. You will sit there and you will like it. But I think it is time for us to call it a night. It is almost 1 o'clock in the morning on our end as well, actually.
Yeah.
And we've been recording. Actually, we've been recording for almost 3 hours now. I just realized that. Holy
Yeah.
shit! This is gonna
I
be
was
a
like,
really
guys,
long
like, long
episode.
episode. Yeah.
We're sorry. We're not sorry. Anyway, yeah. Before we leave for tonight, we want to do our basic housekeeping, and we'll start off with you, Vania. If you'd like to tell us where you can be found.
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube under HH and Cultist, mostly Twitter. Kind of not active on YouTube right now. I'm kind of trying to see where I'm going with my YouTube from now on because I'm trying not to be strictly vlog related. I just kind of want to stray away a little bit from the vlog style and do a little bit more makeup horror and stuff inspired by things that are makeup and horror nights and whatnot. I just haven't found that method yet because I'm kind of tired of vlogging and trying to compete with everybody else. No offense to all the vloggers out there, but like it's just not my style and it's just a lot to keep up. My mental state cannot handle that. But if you guys are, until I get those creative juices flowing, I feel like always have an excuse for something. But I promise you, I'm just trying to do it for the better of my channel. You can just talk to me on Twitter. I always shit talk. I always mention something about like horror nights there. But for the first time, I'm gonna also drop my personal Twitter because I need more people and more variations on other things other than horror. I mean, nothing wrong with horror and goth stuff, but if you have other interests like anime and Marvel and all that stuff, you can also follow me under VVillain, which is VEE Villain, all together in Twitter. You can follow me on my personal Twitter, and I like to talk about nerdy stuff. So if that's something that you're also into too, follow me on HHN Cultist on Twitter and also VVillain. So yay! But there's other people on this podcast and other more interesting people.
Stop it.
Which, Marge, I'm going to toss it over to you, Yussef.
So, for my personal stuff, you can find me on Instagram at Yussef1220 and on my Twitter at itbeyusef. I am also thinking about doing a Tumblr just because I know the Bird app is kind of going through some hardcore changes and things are not looking for the good, are not looking as great as we thought they were going to be with Twitter, thanks to a certain Elon Musk. But I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm probably going to do it. I will keep you guys updated on that. Probably going to be doing the same thing with our podcast, because right now you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Sounds from the Grave. We also have our lovely podcast. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you can get podcasts. And we have one very, very exciting event coming up pretty soon. We're still in the really early pre-planning stages. Just know that it is going to be one of the most ambitious things we've done for the podcast, and it's going to be something that we're hoping to do once a year. And I am very, very excited to unveil what it's going to be. Vania just realized what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was just like, wait, what are you talking about?
Let's just say that we're talking Avengers level event here, if that gives you a hint as to what we might be talking about. But that's really all we got for you. That's all I can just say at the moment. I don't want to spoil too much. But just keep your eyes peeled on the horizon because something big is going down.
Hell yeah.
But outside of that, that's really all we got for you guys. We really hope you enjoy this extended episode. And actually, we're interested. What are your thoughts on houses and scare zones this year for Horror Nights? So just reach out to us, DM us on Instagram or Twitter, or drop us an email at soundsfromthegravepodcast@gmail.com. We would love to discuss this with you. Because we could talk Horror Nights all night.
Yeah.
As you could see, we've been doing it for almost 3 hours now. So,
Okay.
but we hope you guys have a good night or a good day whenever you're listening to this, and that you stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Night, y'all.
Bye, everybody.